Hey guys, just wanted to let you know in case you're watching us on YouTube that obviously we're not on our regular set. And the only real reason for that is that they're fixing the AC in our building and the big unit is right next to the Gryffindor set. So we're on our popcorn culture set, our other podcast. So if you only know us from through the Gryffindor, well, guess what? Great news. We have another podcast, Popcorn Culture, if you want to check out that. But otherwise, that's why it's a little different here today. But we brought some of our creature comforts upstairs with us. So, it still feels like Gryffindor.
That's right. It'll still be the standard show through and through, but we just wanted to address the otherwise popcorn culture in the room.
Yeah, the pop in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Welcome, dear listeners. I'm Jonathan Carlin.
And I'm Benjamin Carlin.
And we invite you to join us through the Gryffindor, your one-way ticket to the enchanting world of Harry Potter. So grab your wands and dust off your broomsticks and join us as we unlock the riddles inside Goblet of Fire, Chapter 31, The Third Task.
Man, we are in it. We are so in it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm excited. The maze is so cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool. Such adventure. And I feel like for once inside of this chapter, you've actually got Harry like feeling modest levels of confidence.
I know. It's like Harry's feeling like a little bit better. He's actually prepared, and all the preparation leading up to it is just sort of like a great excuse to just like level up Harry's power level in like a natural way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because he's normally so on his heels with everything that he's up against, and largely, he only gets through the first and second tasks with very specific kinds of help, with the gillyweed from Dobby, through Barty Crouch Jr., and then the kind of nudge from Barty Crouch Jr. to Hagrid to show Harry the dragons. Then even after he shows him the dragons, he's like, okay, sit down.
Yeah.
What are you good at?
All right, here's how you do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Which, it's funny because I feel like that really comes to a head in this one as well with Cedric's nobility towards the end of the chapter, where he's kind of like, well, I had so much help, and Harry's like, I had so much help.
Right. Yeah.
So it really is. It's kind of remarkable as it all shakes out. But before we dive in, of course, we got to talk about the chapter art, which
we sure do.
Is the famous Sphinx.
The Sphinx, which is, only as famous as the book because, of course, it is glaringly missing from the movies, as are every single obstacle in the maze.
And it's funny, too, because it's like a big part of the maze itself is the fact that like Harry is confused why he's not encountering more things, and like obviously the explanation for this is that once again Barty Crouch Jr. is just sort of blasting stuff out of his way so that he doesn't have to face it, so he's got as clean of a route as humanly possible in his journey. And I guess there are certain things that are just too magically powerful. In fact, I think the Scroot and the Acromantula both are described as having like particularly strong magical defenses in terms of like their own respective armor. So it almost like makes sense that both of those are like immune to whatever Junior would be able to do to them.
Yeah, then you've got the Golden Mist, which I don't think you can really just sort of blast out of the way. It's just sort of there.
Yeah. Yep. And then the Sphinx also seems to sort of have like its own degree of like majesty about it. So even though it's not described as having armor, something tells me it is a very powerful magical beast.
Yeah, it's possibly also just so deep in the maze that he just can't like get to it.
Right. Yeah, like you're starting to have like a distance problem.
Right. Yeah. It's just like I got to go through all these hedges.
Right. Right. Yes.
I can see it right there.
Right. Yes. Because I mean that's the other thing too is the Sphinx really represents like Harry's almost there. Like,
Harry's almost there. The Sphinx is like it's clever in a couple of ways, but we can get to that when we get to it. Either way, I love the artwork on this chapter.
Yeah,
it is so good. It's so fun.
It's very cool. It's very like Wizarding World. It's very magical. It's an awesome depiction of what is otherwise a very cool creature, and kind of sad we didn't get to see. So at least in this chapter we do.
Yes, we will get to it. So anyway, let's dive into our first sentence here. It says, Dumbledore reckons you know who's getting stronger again as well, Ron whispered, and then the dragons arrived.
It's like, well, things just couldn't get any
Hey,
worse.
Oh boy, yeah, he's getting stronger. Ah! Yeah, he's stronger, all right. Look, he's got dragons.
It's got dragons. Right, yeah. Oh, good start to the day there for old Ron.
Yep.
Of course, basically, he's kicking off with this particular question because Harry has just left Dumbledore's office where he witnessed inside of the Pensieve and was basically able to get more information from Dumbledore than I think he really could have bargained for in terms of what's going on outside of Hogwarts and the Triwizard Tournament. And of course, that has to do with Voldemort gaining strength and sort of getting a glimpse into all of the people that we probably at this point in time could assume as potential suspects for whoever is behind everything that's going on. Kind of get like a nice spotlight on Karkaroff, got a nice spotlight on Ludo Bagman. We get the actual confirmation that Snape was a former Death Eater.
Yep.
So lots of really big pieces of information came back in chapter 30 to kind of kick us off into chapter 31 and everything that Harry needs to immediately recall to Ron and Hermione so that they then of course have all the information to work with as well.
Yeah. And of course then they stay up all night talking it over until Harry's mind was reeling, until he understood what Dumbledore had meant about a head becoming so full of thoughts that it would have been a relief to siphon them off. This feels like, what is this? Is this the like Bader-Meinhof thing where like you hear about something and then you start seeing it?
That's exactly it. Yeah,
it's just like Harry's just like, wow, now that you mentioned it, it does feel like that.
Right. Yeah. It's like he's never even had the luxury of knowing that there's a place that you could put your excess thought. Yeah.
Do you suppose, okay, we didn't talk about this last time with the Pensieve. I don't like, do you think when you take the thought out of your head, it's not like you can't remember it again until you go back in?
I go back and forth on this all the time,
right? Because like when he's doing the occlumency lessons with Snape seems like he's removing memories in case Harry penetrates his mind.
Yeah, you are correct. Like it seems like he's sort of taking them and parking them elsewhere. The thing that gets very muddy very quickly is that if you've taken the original memory out of your brain and then you go into the Pensieve to view the memory, then you have the memory of viewing the memory, which maybe like immediately like reinforms you of what you've just removed.
Right.
So I could see a world where you're almost making like a Xerox copy of the memory by going and like remembering it in a different way. So maybe if what Snape had done was gone through, removed all of those memories and then not gone back in to witness them, then he could like temporarily remove them. However, what I do think is kind of interesting about that particular explanation is that if Snape were to remove all of his negative memories attached to James, then I feel like his active hatred towards Harry seems like it would like lessen.
Right. He's just being mean out of habit.
He's just being mean out of habit, or like, is there like a world where he just like becomes nicer to Harry? Because and genuinely I can't remember the exact tone of voice that Snape has, but occlumency lessons feels like one of the rare instances where Snape is just kind of communicating with Harry as more of a human.
That you are correct about that. Like he actually is able to like talk to Snape and ask him questions and get answers out of him in like a more like regular conversation style.
Yeah, and I mean it kind of demonstrates, what it feels like their relationship could have been like had things gone differently in the past, which I mean, obviously I feel like we would need to get like a more intimate relationship with the exact words on the page, like as we get to that chapter in Order of the Phoenix. But like, I feel like there could be a theory cooking there to the tune of, is Snape nicer to Harry during occlumency lessons because he's removed his negative memories with James?
That does seem possible now that you mention it. But on the flip side of this, then you've got Harry trying to get the memory from Slughorn, but Slughorn has already given the memory to Dumbledore, and yet he's also able to pull out it again to give it to Harry.
Yeah, but it's a very modified version of it. So
like, do you think he so how is he modifying it? And then like using his imagination to imagine a different version and then siphoning that?
I would think it's
something like that.
It's something like that. Yeah. Right. Because the memory itself seems like congealed in a way. It does make me think that there must be like a thread of magic. And I do think that Slughorn, we don't get a lot of it because he's sort of got like this boisterous character. I do think he's a really good wizard.
Oh, for sure.
So
I mean, he's dueling Voldemort at the end.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, and that's like the one real instance that we get other than like his potion brewing capabilities, where we get to see like Slughorn kind of at like full power. So it's harder to
He also like, he's like fleeting around the country, hiding from the Death Eaters successfully.
True.
And he only gets like, 10 seconds warning before Dumbledore and Harry come into that room, and he like, wrecks the entire room and transforms himself into an armchair.
Also true.
You
Yeah.
know?
So he's doing a lot of magic very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah. In a way that apparently shy of Dumbledore, who we know to be extraordinary, has been enough to keep him hidden from anyone else.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think and all that's just largely to say that like, I don't know if, like, whatever Slughorn has done to the memory, to me, it feels like it is more than just being like, I'm going to be really creative with my imagination and come up with a good lie, and then I'm going to pull that memory out of my head instead of whatever. And like, it seems like there's something to it, but obviously I don't really have any basis for it because there's no like precedent. There's no basis as to what that looks like other than that true memories seem to be more pure.
Sure. Okay.
So, but I think it's a great question because I've always kind of wondered the same thing. Like, if you're taking memories from your head, are they still in your head?
Right. Yeah. Like, if they're not in your head anymore, maybe it's just happier that way.
Right. I mean, I could certainly see that. Yeah.
Yep. In any case, Ron stared into the common fire. Harry thought he saw Ron shiver slightly, even though the evening was warm. So I highlighted that because that's like Ron having this like fear of Voldemort returning right there, just sort of like thinking about it himself.
Yeah. And I think that there's going to be kind of like a really interesting moment in this chapter too, because Harry, very understandably, his relationship with Voldemort has been so personal in nature. Like, he himself, his own like blood, flesh, and bones are what are at risk, and his life is tormenting by the Dursleys. So much of this has all been caused by Voldemort's actions. Like, the way that Harry's life as a singularity has been impacted by Voldemort's existence is enough for him to want to combat him, basically, to stand up to him, like all those types of things. But like Ron, who I think maybe is like growing up in the wizarding world, has a greater scope of the impact. Molly's two brothers, Fabian and Gideon Pruitt, were both killed by Voldemort. And Ron is, maybe even in a way that we don't give him enough credit for, is the one who shudders the most at the name, at saying Voldemort's name. He struggles with it more than the other two do, who grew up in the non-magical world. But the reason I bring all that up, though, is that like Ron kind of has this shiver because he is afraid at the prospect of him coming back, because he really knows a lot more about it. But then here on like the next page, Harry is going to go upstairs into the dormitory to put their pajamas on and everything, and then he's going to hear Neville snoring from the bed, over in the corner of the room. Of course, Harry has not told Ron and Hermione about everything that happened with Neville's parents to keep true to his promise, and I think that that's the exact right position to keep that very close to his chest. That is for Neville to share, not for anybody else to share. But I think that like for the first time, Harry, it says he imagined how it must feel to have parents still living but unable to recognize you. He often got sympathy from strangers for being an orphan, but as he listened to Neville snores, he thought that Neville deserved them more than he did. Let's see here. He says, then he remembered the milk-white face of the screaming boy and realized with a jolt that he had died a year later. It was Voldemort, Harry thought, staring up at the canopy of his bed in the darkness. It all came back to Voldemort. He was the one who had torn these families apart, who had ruined all of these lives.
Yeah, I circled that exact passage right there as well, because this, in one book from now, Dumbledore is going to be having a conversation with Harry about the prophecy, or maybe it is. Yeah, that is what it is. Yeah, and it's like he tells him so I've got to fight him. He's like, got to? Of course you've got to, but not because the prophecy says, think, Harry, think.
Yes, I wrote on my page,
yes,
got to, of course you've got to, but not because of the prophecy.
Yeah, that's literally, this is the moment right here. This is it.
It is. Yeah. So, and that's what I mean. That's what I mean by Ron's shiver. That's why I think it's so important, is because Ron, I think, Like, he fears Voldemort because I think, again, to Ron's credit, I think he understands the scope, the horrifying, nightmarish nature that is Voldemort's existence.
Right.
Harry has personally been attacked by him. He has reason to fear him. He has reason to hate him. But to me, this is the moment where Harry was able to inject empathy into the situation, where he is seeing the direct result of the Longbottoms having been tortured, the terror that would be having parents still there but they don't recognize you. Like in some ways maybe that's worse. I mean, they suffered, and it's terrible. And of course, Harry knows everything that Neville's been up against, his lack of confidence, and how it's impacted him when Dumbledore has described the Longbottoms as being these highly popular Aurors.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's so nicely arranged here too, that it is thinking about Neville specifically that like helps Harry reach the spot, because Neville is of course the other boy who might have been the chosen one. So like it does seem appropriate, but then I think like even he says, he often got sympathy from people for being an orphan, but he thought Neville deserved it more than he did. Even that is like an example of like Harry's like very, very pure heart. Like I don't think many people could reach that conclusion like about themselves versus their friend's version of suffering. And it is no coincidence that he is having this very pure of heart moment at the same time where he realizes that he doesn't just need to survive Voldemort like he has been with the Philosopher's Stone or the Chamber of Secrets, that he needs to specifically fight him.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Like it's like the mantle is like building, and it's like he's like clutching onto it, and it's like okay, like this is it's going to be me versus him, and that's what it's going to come down to. And I think you're exactly right about the fact that it's Neville in particular that gives him this spark, because even something about that feels prophetic, like the one with the power the Dark Lord knows not. Like even this, it's like it's empathy, it's like it's love, it's compassion, it's like it's all of the things that Voldemort that he can't do.
Yeah. I also want to say that I think Hermione has almost a like nearly word for word sentiment in Deathly Hallows about like, it's Voldemort, Harry, that's what this all comes down to,
right,
or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's like, yep, took you about 3 books later, but you did get there. But even that even the fact that like Hermione has like a very similar like come to terming moment with it, that's after she's already helping Harry with the Horcruxes, Yeah. And it just like it harkens back to then her like sentiment at the end of year 1 where she's like, oh, me, books and cleverness, they're more important things.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And I even wrote that exact line down here on the next paragraph.
Yeah.
So Ron and Hermione were supposed to be studying for their exams, which they would finish on the day of her task, but they were putting most of their efforts into helping Harry prepare. Don't worry about it, Hermione said shortly when Harry pointed this out to them. And he said he didn't mind practicing on his own. It's like you now have a situation.
Yeah, but more important things. I actually forgot I wrote that.
Yes, there were more important things. Friendship and bravery. Like,
oh my gosh, good for them. Good for them. I actually wrote at the bottom of this page, this is a really good page.
It is. I know. This is a great one. Like,
page 607, people. If you're on the Patreon, that's a real high dollar page, I think. You know?
Yeah, that would be a great one to get. Mine is just absolutely covered in blue ink.
Yeah,
I was using a blue highlighter today.
Yep.
But no, I do. I think it's amazing. You're seeing so much character growth. You're really seeing like the seed that will grow into this trio going on to ultimately being the force that will defeat Voldemort. And it's happening right before your eyes.
Right there, yeah. Like very. This is such a good. Yeah, I loved this whole passage. This whole page was very, very good.
Yep. And then when we flip over to there's a great sentiment from Ron as well, because it says like, at least we'll get top marks in defense against the dark arts. We'd never have found all these hexes in class. And then Ron follows up with good training from when we're all Aurors, which it said Ron excitedly. And it's like, I sort of love that too, because it's like, this is Ron daydreaming of a future where they are all still together and they're all still working together,
right,
like as a team. And so it's like, that's kind of great, because, you got to remember that this is the same Ron that just 3 years prior, in their first year at school was like, at complete odds odds with Hermione.
Yeah.
And now it's like he as he daydreams of the future, it's them together.
Yeah, and it's also just really good setup for the three of them being like the sort of like pseudo. Well, Harry's obviously the leader, but like Ron and Hermione being like, you know, the lieutenants of like Dumbledore's army.
That's exactly right.
In the next book where they're gonna have to be teaching everyone all these other spells, and it's like, well, good news, we already spent a whole year doing this.
That's exactly right.
Or a month or whatever.
Because even the rest of that sentence said Ron excitedly attempting the impediment curse on a wasp that had busted into the room, making it stop dead in midair. It's like, it's like I mean, for Ron, like, you know, we don't get a whole lot of like Ron being great at magic.
I know. I literally wrote "Yay Ron" next to it because he's like, yeah, you don't see Ron just like casually succeed at spells
precisely
in the books.
This is him. What an onlooker would describe as just like effortless.
Right.
You know, it's just sort of like, you know, boom, kind of like lazily stopped a wasp with his spell.
Yeah.
You know, which, you know, not for nothing, it's a small target.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Good aim.
Right.
Yes. You know, being able to catch small things out of the air is sort of Ron's specialty.
Out of the three of them, that's his skill.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to like make a keeper quaffle reference, but obviously Harry catches smaller things.
Okay. I thought you were making a snitch joke. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so what do we got here? Moving on. The mood in the castle, as they entered June, became excited and tense again. Everyone was looking forward to the third task, staring right at the side of that hedge wall.
I know.
Although even as they're entering, it sounds like they're entering the Quidditch stands. You know, like when we get there, that's what it sounds like in the book.
Do you mean versus the depiction we get in the film where they're sitting like in like bleachers?
And like bleachers next to the maze.
You're right. I mean, it does sound like they're up there. I still don't think the vantage point is wonderful. Like, and there's a chance we even did a video once, like doing the geometry of like how tall the seats in the Quidditch pitch are described as being relative to like 20-foot hedges and what the optics would be at like specific angles. Oh
yeah, because you're like 50 feet up and this is like 30 and they're like 20 feet high.
Right.
So like you probably couldn't see super great down into the hedges anyway.
Yeah, you might be able to see some things, but I think your angle is not going to be perfect for being able to see.
I imagine as well though that like the hedges are like a little bit further apart than they are in the way they're in the movie, where they're like only like shoulder width apart.
Right, and maybe that makes a big difference as well. Maybe you could see more going on. I mean, this is the kind of thing where I wouldn't hate a world where there's just like a jumbotron type of like a magical, you know, situation.
Right. The problem is that you have to like even if you changed it in the show and you're like obviously they're sitting in the Quidditch stands and like they can like see some of it, which would be exciting. You still have to create. I think you could do it, and what you'd have to do is put some sort of like big cloud over the middle so that there wasn't like because people can't see Cedric and Harry touch it at the same time. Like they can't see what happens.
Sure.
They can't see that there was a gap in time.
Right.
Like it could which they could, you know, even build around like, oh yeah, like it's likely that several of them start getting pretty close at the same time. And for the sake of like, who's going to win, we'll cover that part.
Right.
Yeah, so then you'll just see them appear over here.
What's the best way to do like the sporting excitement version of it? Like you got to leave like a little bit of suspense there for the end.
Yeah, but like I can totally see like a situation where you're like up in the crowds and people are staring down and they're cheering and yelling and going, ah, but then you like zoom down through like the Silencio charm or something and you get to like Harry's vantage point and she's like, whew, quiet.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Absolutely.
Like they can't hear anything happening above them or
just
anything.
Just some muffly-auto going on.
Right. Yeah. Just something like that.
Well, that's the other really big one too. Is that like, and I think that this would be perfectly acceptable, but like just to simply explain the idea that the cup, which is at the center of the maze, was always meant to be a port key. The idea is that it would just transport you back out of the maze to like a champion's plinth or something like that, you know. So it's like you would touch it, and then that would be like the way that like everybody would like, you know, look to the spot to see who arrived, who's standing there holding the cup in the air,
right?
You know, because that would give it like a way for, because otherwise, you know, it's like time running out in the Super Bowl or whatever, and people being like, what happened?
Yeah.
You know, because it's like, you know, or for that matter, like what happens if somebody gets the cup and they then have to make it out of the maze, and somebody attacks them on their way out of the maze.
Right.
You know, like what's governing this?
Yeah.
So there's all sorts of weird issues when it comes to the spectator variety of the thing. But
there is. But Harry, of course, is feeling a little more confident. He managed to find his way past monsters, creatures, and enchanted barriers before now, and this time he had some notice. So far, what he's gone through is all of the Philosopher's Stone obstacles: Aragog, the Basilisk, the Chamber of Secrets itself, Fluffy, which I guess is a Philosopher's Stone obstacle, werewolves, Dementors, and dragons.
Yeah. So he's definitely, well, and I guess mer people too.
And mer people,
in some
sort
capacity.
of,
yeah. A lake.
Water.
Yeah. It's not dangerous until it is.
Yeah.
But Moody was right. Harry found his way past these things, and it's like this. It's cool that like he does sort of have like a measure of confidence going into it. I do love the line here of tired of walking in on Harry, Hermione, and Ron all over the school. Professor McGonagall had given him permission to use the empty Transfiguration classroom at lunchtimes.
Just lunch.
I know.
And why is McGonagall just like popping into random rooms all over the school?
This is true. Yeah. You know? Maybe she's just like kind of like kind of hoping to find Harry practicing. That's just a couple of pointers, Potter.
Yeah. You might want to try this one.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh man, I do love the kind of like protective nature that McGonagall has over Harry. It's very adorable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's see. They're learning a bunch of things: the impediment curse, the reductor curse, the 4-point spell. Like you pretty much learn all the things that he learned. It sounds like he's learned like a whole list of them, but it's like 4 or something.
Right.
It's like Stupefy, Reducto, Impedimenta, and Point Me.
Right. It does say that he was still having trouble with the shield charm.
Oh, shield charm as well.
Which is, it's a little bit surprising for Harry because a shield charm is specifically defensive magic, which like I would say if you wanted to like really delve into what Harry's strengths are, it's like the Patronus and Expelliarmus would be like the other two like super major, like Impedimenta, Reductor, Stupefy. Those are all like slightly more offensive based defensive spells, if you will, like where that is like sort of like subduing the target, whereas well, I guess that sort of sounds still a little rather defensive when I phrase it like that, but the point is that I'm surprised he's having trouble with the shield charm.
Yeah, I know, but you know he has trouble with the Patronus charm at first and the summoning charm at first.
True
as well.
True.
Yeah, but you're right, like the Accio and Protego are probably his next two like most signature spells,
right
after Expecto Patronum and Expelliarmus.
Right. Yeah. Let's see here. But then it says that the shield charm was supposed to cast a temporary invisible wall around himself that deflected minor curses. Hermione managed to shatter it with a well-placed jelly legs jinx, and Harry wobbled around the room for 10 minutes afterwards before she had to look up the counter jinx, which one, I'm surprised that she doesn't know, but two, just a little piece of trivia there is what spell did Hermione use to cut through his
the jelly legs jinx.
That's right.
Yeah.
Can you remember it? JLJ. Jelge.
Yeah.
I can already hear us on stage when we're out on the Midwest leg of the tour, somebody asking this and being like, I remember saying this.
Yep.
And right now I remember Jelge.
Will
I then?
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. I'm sure someone's going to write it down. Let's see. And then so Hermione just says, you're still doing really well, though. Looking down, crossing out the spells that already learned. Some of these are bound to come in handy. Yes, they absolutely are. Then Ron conveniently spots Draco Malfoy on the grounds giving an interview to Beetle Skeeter.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So Harry and Hermione went to see Malfoy, Crabbe, and Goyle were standing in the shadow of a tree below. Crabbe and Goyle seem to be keeping a lookout, something that they're going to end up doing quite a bit coming up in year 6.
Yes, absolutely.
Both were smirking. Malfoy was holding his hand up to his mouth and speaking into it. He looks like he's using a walkie-talkie, said Harry curiously. He can't be, Sir Hermione. I've told you, those sorts of things don't work around Hogwarts. And it's like Hermione, for as much of like an axe to grind as she has against Rita Skeeter, I'm surprised that I guess she doesn't know this is a Rita Skeeter situation.
She doesn't.
Is the obvious point. But like, yeah, it's almost surprising to me that she's not more fixated on this, and this is almost where I think like her hyper analytical nature could possibly be getting in the way of like, it's like, well, he can't be doing that because walkie talkies don't work here. So what's the point? It's like, well, he must be doing something.
Right. He's doing something, but I guess they're just sort of like, it doesn't really matter.
Exactly. Yeah.
We're just sort of witnessing him through the window here.
Right.
In any case, then we find out that Harry is getting daily owls from Sirius, not with advice or curses, just basically saying, just concentrate on getting through it, Harry. This is so funny because it's like everyone, Sirius, Hermione, McGonagall, Ron are all putting so much effort into exactly what Barty Crouch Jr. wants them to do.
Like helping Harry get through
Harry get through the maze. They're all so convinced the task itself is the trouble, not that winning is the goal.
Exactly.
Which, I mean, of course, why would the bad guys want Harry to win,
Well, I think that's the beauty of the Mad-Eye Moody disguise is that it's like you can have a character who, as far as we're concerned, is fully rooting for Harry the whole time.
Right. That's what makes it so believable.
That's what makes exactly. Yeah. It's like he genuinely wants Harry to succeed all the way up until he doesn't, because as we've mentioned in the past, Barty Crouch Jr. doesn't see any way in the world that if he successfully gets Harry to the graveyard that Voldemort can't readily handle him.
Right. Exactly.
No problem.
But then even this phrasing here from Sirius says, he reminded Harry in every letter that whatever might be going outside the walls of Hogwarts was not Harry's responsibility, nor was it within his power to influence it. And it's like Sirius is reminding Harry of this, but it's also then, trying to inform you, the reader, of make you think that. But it's like, it's just so not true. It's just so not true. Like whatever's going outside the walls of Hogwarts, it's like, it's not within your power to influence it. It's like, I wish that were true. I wish it were true. It's exactly about Harry.
Yes, it is. It absolutely is. Yeah, but of course that's what everybody doesn't know is that Voldemort would be specifically fixated on Harry again.
Right. Yeah, except that Harry has these dreams which make it seem like it,
It definitely, I mean, it's marking something to do with them.
Yeah.
No, it's a good, but even that, it's kind of like there could be like the unusual connection. Like even Dumbledore could be like, there's an unusual connection between Harry and Voldemort, but maybe Voldemort doesn't know. Like it's not like Voldemort is using the dreams up till this point, because up till this point Voldemort doesn't know.
Oh yeah, no, Voldemort won't know about that until Nagini attacks Mr. Weasley.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's like the tell. Yeah. So anyway, let's see here.
He also says he cannot hope to lay hands on you while you were under Dumbledore's protection. Again, I wish it were true. I wish it were true.
If only.
If only, but he super does.
Right, I know. But yeah, so then I think what the other thing that's funny is that Sirius is sending daily letters to Harry at this point in time. But then it's the day of the third task, and breakfast was a very noisy affair at the Gryffindor table. The post owls appeared, bringing Harry a good luck card from Sirius. It was only a piece of parchment folded over, bearing a muddy paw print on its front. And it's like, he's been sending letters every day. Now it's the day of the task. No final words of good luck.
I know.
Just, today's the day you phoned in the muddy paw print.
Literally, I wrote, feels like you could do better.
Yeah. It's like, maybe just a little bit more.
Right? I know.
But that's another little piece of trivia there is what does Sirius say on his final letter before the Triwizard Tournament? It's just a muddy paw print.
Just a muddy paw print. Just like, here you go.
Right.
I didn't even have time to turn back into a human for this one, Harry. Sorry.
Thinking about you, Harry.
Yeah.
Hope it comes across with this muddy paw print.
Exactly.
Hermione gets her copy of the Daily Prophet and immediately tries to hide it.
Yeah.
Ron is right there with Harry being like, yo, what's up with that? Like, let's see it. And then Ron sees it and is sort of like, Harry, you don't need to see it.
I don't even know about this. What?
Right, yeah. No, it's not important. Yo, we need to pause right there to let you know that Through the Gryffindor is sponsored by Shopify. Running a business can be interesting. You've ventured out into new waters, full of dreams, coffee, and ambitions, and probably more coffee. You've worked your butt off single-handedly to get things off of the ground, made your first sale, maybe made your first official, regular. Then the word gets out. You're amazing. More demand, hiring staff, training, marketing, merchandising, packing, shipping. Where's the coffee? Deep breath, all of us. Deep breath. But we've all been there, right? And well, if not yet, then not to worry, because I have undying faith in you. Because when things get heavy, that is when you want Shopify. It is the ultimate business companion that looks amazing in hats, because it can wear so many of them. Come on, that was good, right? Anyway, Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world, and 10% of all e-commerce in the United States, from household names like Mattel and Carlin Brothers Mercantile to brands that are just just getting their start. And Shopify is packed with helpful AI tools that help write product descriptions, page headlines, and even enhance your product photography. So turn your big business idea into with Shopify on your side and sign up for your $1 per month trial period and start selling today at shopify.com/Griffin. That's shopify.com/Griffin. One last time for safety, shopify.com/Griffin. But sure enough, Draco Malfoy's there, just as always, just, like fully tuned into everything that Harry's doing. And he's
absolutely
like, hey, Potter, how's your head? You feeling all right? Sure you're not going to go berserk on us?
Fast reader he is.
He is. Yeah.
He skimmed this whole art. I mean, he's part of it, I guess.
Part of it, yeah.
Maybe he knows some of it.
Maybe he had advanced reader copy.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
How's your head? But anyway, then we get to the article itself titled Harry Potter, Disturbed and Dangerous. And my goodness, all might have been saved if not for this article. This is a truly devastating newspaper article for the future of the wizarding world.
Oh boy.
It is bad. And it is dripping with so much bias and opinion and horrible journalism practices.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Everything is just drastically taken out of context. You've got representatives, experts from St. Mungo's Hospital that are giving insight here. And it's sort of okay, they can't have possibly been given all of the information. I think
I know.
It's she's certainly quick quotes, quill bending the words.
Oh my gosh, it's you can tell. There's going to be let's one of the. We can just work through the whole thing.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
You're absolutely right. So, the first thing that I highlighted was at the end of the first paragraph where it says, alarming evidence has recently come to light about Harry Potter's strange behavior, which casts doubt upon his suitability to compete in demanding competition like the Triwizard Tournament, which he doesn't have any desire to do or control over, or even to attend Hogwarts school. And it's just as if that is your call.
I know. Yeah.
What do you mean? You don't get to say that.
Right. It's what extreme measures you've gone to include that piece. And it's sort of everybody would love it if he couldn't compete in the Triwizard Tournament, including Harry.
Yeah.
The other schools would be happier. All of his teachers would be happier. Ron and Hermione would be happier. His friends, family, Harry,
yeah.
Potter, the Daily Prophet, can exclusively reveal regularly collapses at school.
Not regularly, just once.
Just once, and is often heard
not often.
to complain of pain in the scar on his forehead. On Monday last, midway through a divination class, your Daily Prophet reporter witnessed Potter storming from the class.
Witnessed? Openly admitting to breaking the rules.
I was sloppy Rita, right?
Yeah.
It's that's not great. Claiming that his scar was hurting too badly to continue studying. It's you're outing yourself, basically.
Yeah, the other people of the class be she wasn't there.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. Or not supposed to be.
Or not supposed to be. However she was there, she wasn't supposed to be. And then, okay, this is where how she phrases it says, it is possible, say top experts in St. Mungo's Hospital, that Potter's brain was affected by the attack inflicted upon him by you-know-who. So here's how I imagine that conversation went. Do you imagine that Harry Potter's brain has been affected? Well, probably not. It's but it's not impossible. It's not impossible. Well, then it's possible, say the experts,
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
No, I agree with you completely. And honestly, including in that bad journalism there, it says Potter's brain was affected by the attack inflicted upon him by Lord Voldemort. And it's it's not his brain, it's his soul.
Yeah, come on.
Seriously. Right.
Yeah. He might even be pretending. This could be a plea for attention. That again sounds like a highly led question by Rita saying, is it possible he's pretending and this is just a plea for attention?
Yeah, exactly.
It's possible.
Right, yes. But I also feel that's probably followed up by the fact that it's something along the lines of any psychology expert being he had a traumatic experience as a child and lost both of his parents. Yes, it's possible he has a need for additional attention.
Right, exactly. He's been raised by neglectful muggles.
Right.
But even this could be a plea for attention. Yeah, a plea for attention wherein he exits a classroom full of people who are paying attention to him.
Yeah, also true.
Yeah.
Also true. Then we cut down and we figure out what Draco was speaking into the walkie-talkie.
Oh, hold on. No, we just got another one. It says the Daily Prophet, however, has unearthed worrying facts about Harry Potter that Albus Dumbledore, headmaster of Hogwarts, is carefully concealed from the wizarding public, which is going to be that he can speak Parseltongue. But then, like, what? Excuse me. Why is it Why does Dumbledore have a responsibility to tell the public that Harry can talk to snakes? Like, why are you throwing Dumbledore under the bus here?
Right. Yes. Yes. Breaking news: Dumbledore informs us that one of his students can speak Parseltongue.
Right.
Just thought you should know.
I know. Like, I'm trying to think of like a real world comparison here, where it's just like imagine you're in high school and like
What kind of infliction would be required for your principal to inform the
it's
general
just like,
public?
Yeah, like you do something and it's like, wow, your principal's really. It's pretty weird they didn't tell everyone you did that.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
It's like Harry Potter cheated on his girlfriend. And it's just like, wow, Dumbledore, can't believe you're hiding this information.
Right.
It's like,
right.
really, nothing I could do about it.
Being principal is hard. It's a lot of writing the tabloids at the end of every single day to inform them of all the latest gossip.
Exactly. Yeah. This is just like a personal gift he has too.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So now on to Draco.
Yeah. So Potter can speak Parseltongue, reveals Draco Malfoy, a Hogwarts fourth year. There were a lot of attacks on students a couple of years ago, and most people thought Potter was behind them.
But he wasn't.
But he wasn't, and instead it was actually your own dad who set those attacks.
Yeah. Never mind that Harry also killed a basilisk and stopped the attacks. Don't report that.
Well, and it's also just like most people thought that Potter was behind them, and it's sort of like he wasn't, but people thought that. It's like, what? That's not news. But he's been friends.
It was all hushed up though. Hushed up to the tune of someone was sent to Azkaban and the headmaster was removed.
Right.
So,
right.
Not really hushed up.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he's made friends with werewolves and giants. Not true. Half giants.
Right. Yeah. Right. We think he'd do anything for a bit of power. Well, okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Parseltongue, the ability to converse with snakes, has long been considered a dark art. Indeed,
opinion.
The most famous Parselmouth of our time is none other than you-know-who himself, a member of the Dark Force Defense League.
Excuse me. Harry's more famous than Voldemort. I mean, what?
Voldemort's infamous.
Yeah.
Let's see here. A member of the Dark Force Defense League, who wished to remain unnamed, stated that he would regard any wizard who could speak Parseltongue as worthy of investigation.
Do you imagine this was just Gilderoy Lockhart at St. Mungo's?
I think it's very possible.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because I was
a member of the Dark Force Defense League.
Yes, it's like who is this person otherwise?
Right. She made one stop at St. Mungo's and was like, Gilderoy, you know Harry Potter.
It is great to see you.
Yes.
Right. Let's not go into the details of what happened back in his second year. None of that would be important for this particular conversation. What do you think about people who can speak Parseltongue? But yeah, otherwise it's sort of like, who is this person? Who is this traitor? Or is it just once again being taken drastically out of context? And it's just sort of like, what would you say if somebody could speak Parseltongue? It's like, well, I'd say it's probably worth looking into.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, worthy of investigation. Got it.
Right.
Yeah.
I also love this sentence. Albus Dumbledore should surely consider whether a boy such as this should be allowed to compete in the Triwizard Tournament. It's like, Dumbledore definitely did not want a boy like this competing in the Triwizard Tournament. He drew an age line.
Yes.
Right? Like
he actively tried to prevent this.
Also, he literally, like, there's literally nothing they can do about it because of this magically binding contract. And, like, what are you supposed to do?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, that brings us to the end of the article, and then listen to this. I mean, tell me how you interpreted it. Gone off me a bit, hasn't she? Said Harry, lightly folding up the paper. So we definitely interpret that as like he tears the paper to shreds and throws all the bits into the sky around him.
Oh, is that what happens in the movie?
No. This is B just like do it like a little calmly joke.
Oh yeah.
Lightly folding up the paper.
Yeah. Said Harry, lightly folding it up. Obviously trashed it. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, just blew it up. Reducto. Right. I'll show you. Right.
No, just a small joke there, as we have to do.
Yep.
And then Ron is actually the one who jumps to the conclusion most quickly. How did she know your scar hurt in divination? Ron said. There's no way she was there. There's no way she could have heard. And then Harry's like, the window was open. I opened it to breathe. And then
Harry's somehow giving her an out.
Right, that's true. And then Hermione, voice of reason, you were at the top of the North Tower. Your voice couldn't have carried all the way down to the grounds.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, you're the one who's supposed to be researching magical methods of bugging.
Wait, click. You can almost hear it click into place in Hermione's brain.
Yeah. You tell me how she did it. I've been trying, said Hermione, but I
Click.
Yep.
there.
Yep. She's got it now.
Yep.
She slowly raised a hand and ran her fingers through her hair. This is her remembering the beetle in her her hair at the second task.
Yep.
And Ron is like, "Are you all right?" And Hermione's like, "Yes." And then she held her hand up to her mouth as though she were speaking to an invisible walkie-talkie.
I think it is sloppy to use the word walkie-talkie twice in the same chapter like this.
I agree.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like too obvious.
Speaking into an invisible cupped hand, I think would be fine.
Right.
I guess it wouldn't be invisible cupped hand, just speaking into a cupped hand.
Right.
Yes. I've had an idea, Hermione said, gazing into space. I think I know, because no one will be able to see, even Moody. And she'd have been able to get to the window on the ledge, but she's not allowed. She's definitely not allowed. I think we've got her. Just give me 2 seconds in the library, just to make sure.
Yeah, so what she's going to do is go check the Animagus registration list.
Which apparently they keep in the library.
Which apparently they have a copy of in the library. I also like how Hermione could just let them know right now. It's like, oh my God, she's an Animagus. Let me go check.
I know.
But she's like, no. And like any good theorist, Hermione's like, no. Let me tie it in a bow nicely at the end once I've for sure got the answer.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Yeah. But then hilariously, Ron calls after her and he's like, we've got our history of magic exam in 10 minutes. Blimey. She must really hate Rita Skeeter to risk missing the start of an exam. And it kind of just goes back to what we said earlier. You know, this is like Hermione sorting out her priorities.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Becoming more and more on the side of just defeat evil.
Right.
Let's see. And then so Harry, of course, doesn't have to take his exams because he's exempt. So he's just been looking up fresh hexes for the third task. I wish we knew the full list of things he got because, it's only like 5 new ones.
That doesn't seem like we're getting all those. But he doesn't actually even make it to Professor Binns' class because McGonagall comes over to him and says that the champions' families are invited to watch the final task. And this is a chance that they can use this time now as an opportunity to greet them. To which Harry is sort of like, she doesn't expect the Dursleys to turn up, does she? Or no, Ron actually says that.
Yeah.
And so Harry, it's actually kind of, it's sort of like a sad moment really, because, Harry is just sort of sitting there being like, nobody's going to be here for me.
Right. What are you talking about?
Which honestly, it kind of fed into a theory that we just did this past week over on Super Carlin Brothers, because we were kind of delving into a little bit of a fun one there. But it says Harry finished his breakfast in the empty and great hall. He saw Fleur Delacour get up from the Ravenclaw table and join Cedric as he crossed the side chamber and entered. Then Crumb slouched off to join them shortly after.
Mm-hmm.
So
because he's not excited.
Because he's not excited either about who might be back there, because and this is, total tinfoil hat moment.
Exactly.
But, there is a shocking similarity between the characters of Victor Crumb and Severus Snape, of whom both sort of have like an awkward ground game, if you will.
Awkward ground game. Hooked nose, dark hair, sallow skin.
Yep. They have all of these very same descriptors. Snape, as a young lad, is interested in one Lily Evans, a studious Muggle-born girl.
In Gryffindor.
Victor Crumb is also interested in a young, studious Muggle-born girl in Gryffindor.
Yep.
Hermione
Granger.
Yep. So the idea here is that Snape and Crumb actually have the same father.
Tobias Snape.
Yes. And
the Muggle.
Yes, which we will come back to here in just a few minutes. But so yeah, Harry stayed where he was. He really didn't want to go into the chamber. He had no family who would turn up to see him risk his life anyway. But just
no family worthy of the title family.
yeah, exactly. Yes. So he's just basically like, well, I'm not going back there. I'm going to go do a little bit more hex research. And then Cedric sticks his head out and it's like, Harry, come on, they're waiting for you. And then Harry's like, they couldn't possibly be here.
No, can you imagine? Can you, like, what if they were?
It would be so interesting.
It would
be like, whoa.
What?
Okay, what a moment for the Dursleys.
Yeah.
Totally turning a corner, but
Right.
of course it's not them.
Of course it's not.
Cedric and his parents were just inside the door. Victor Crumb was over in the corner conversing with his dark-haired mother and father in rapid Bulgarian. He had inherited his father's
hooked nose.
Yep. So that's the line where we know that he gets his hook nose from his father. But the other thing I think is kind of interesting about Crumb is that he's got this like surly demeanor, and it seems like he is quiet on all accounts. So the rapidly spoken Bulgarian, the reason that it stands out to me a little bit is it's out of character for Crumb to be speaking so rapidly. So part of our argument as to how this could be Tobias Snape is that, one, we would know that obviously if his name is Victor Crumb and not Victor Snape, he's rejected his father's last name, which would not be surprising at all given what we know about Tobias Snape, in that he is abusive.
Yeah, and Snape did sort of the same thing. He goes by Snape now, but in his high school years, which Victor Crumb is in, he was going by, or he came up with the moniker for himself, the Half-Blood Prince, which was his mom's last name, or maiden name.
Exactly. So, yes. So if you can imagine, the idea here would be that Crumb has been raised by his witch mother and has used her last name throughout all of his life. And now the reason that he's speaking in rapid Bulgarian and the reason that he paused for a little while before actually going back there is because he didn't want to go and see his father, who basically is just hoping to sort of like get in on the now rising star that is his son.
Right, the Quidditch World Cup player and Triwizard champion.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I don't know how firmly I actually believe this theory to be true, but it's kind of like the Snape is a vampire theory, where it's like you start putting the pieces together and it's like there's more to it than I expected.
More than you think.
In a lot of ways it fits. So anyway, that's just kind of a fun one there for you, a little aside. Anyway, but then Harry walks into the room and is greeted by, surprise, Mrs. Weasley and Bill.
Yeah, not Mr. Weasley.
Not Mr. Weasley, which is kind of surprising.
It is. Because you know what? Amos gets off.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah,
that's a very good point. Thought we'd come and watch you, Harry. She bent down and kissed him on the cheek. You all right? Said Bill, grinning at Harry, shaking his hand. Charlie wanted to come, but he couldn't get time off. Said you were incredible against the Horntail.
Yeah, couldn't get time off. You know, there's really strict hours when you're out there researching dragons.
That's right.
They're I'm sorry, we just don't have the PTO for you, Big Charles. You know,
Big Chuck.
Big Chuck.
This is a 9-to-5 job that we got going on.
You're not going to be out there staring at that dragon. Who is?
The real kind of fun thing, though, is that we have a different older Weasley brother, as you've pointed out so astutely in former chapters, where Charlie is, of course, present for the first task, Percy is present for the second task, and now Bill is going to be present for the third task.
Yeah.
And most importantly, it is the opportunity for Fleur Delacour, who Harry noticed was eyeing Bill with great interest over her mother's shoulder.
I have to imagine, because Cedric and Fleur get up and walk like together out to the family thing, which kind of reads like Flora's maybe still hoping for like a little like date or something.
Oh yes,
you know.
Yeah.
I have to imagine this is Cedric finally being like, "Listen, I'm actually pretty serious with my girlfriend Cho, so like." So flattered, but or whatever. And Flora's like, fine, whatever. Walks to the door and is like, hello.
Oh wow, look at that dragon thing earring. Yeah, exactly. No, you're right. But this is interesting too, because it means like Fleur is not going to play a massive role in the future of like the Wizarding World or anything, but she is present. She is important to the story going forward, and that is clearly something that is being set up as early as this sentence right here.
Absolutely.
Unless it's the kind of thing that was supposed to somehow be just sort of further speaking to how Bill is just cool,
yeah,
but I don't think so.
No, it's definitely being set up for sure.
Yeah, right. So it's kind of like, we want to keep Fleur around. So I wonder if there was ever some version of the story that would have involved her having an even bigger role than she ends up having.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. All in all, Bill, it's maybe she specifically doesn't, but her character is important in that. Bill and Fleur's wedding is a big event, and that's the last moment of happiness before everything goes totally crazy.
Exactly.
There, and then they stay at Bill and Fleur's cottage for a pretty long time.
Yeah, Cottage. Yeah,
after they escape, and that's also where Ron goes when he leaves the trio for a little bit.
Yep.
So they have a lot of off-page stuff they're doing, and then they do have a daughter, right? Victoire.
Snogging
Teddy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Teddy Lupin.
Yes.
Yes. So they play a pretty big role overall.
They do. No,
Yeah.
they absolutely do. Yeah. So good setup for the long run there. And Harry, he kind of has this just really adorable moment where I think he just says, "This is really nice of you. I thought for a moment the Dursleys." And I love Mrs. Weasley's response because she's like, "I'm not going to say anything negative about the Dursleys in front of you. However, I hate them."
Yes, yes.
But her eyes flashed every time they were mentioned.
Yes. Yes, okay, I'm very good. Yeah, so Bill's like, yeah, it's great being back here. Let's change the subject.
Let's change the subject.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, Bill apparently had a great relationship with the paintings.
I know. Yeah, Violet, the fat lady's friend, winked at him from her frame.
I know. And then he's like, what about that night, Sir Cadogan and the fat lady? They're all still here, my old pals?
My old pals, the paintings.
The paintings?
Yeah. It's like, Bill, you were cool, right?
Yeah, right.
Like, you were cool. You were supposed to be cool.
That's that weird Weasley kid. He keeps hanging out with the paintings.
Oh man, maybe he just hit his stride upon graduation.
Yeah.
But let's see here. So then we get a little bit of like interesting history from Mrs. Weasley, who says that confirms that the fat lady was around during her time, which I think is just largely true. I feel like in my mind, the fat lady's just been there from the dawn of Gryffindor house.
I agree.
And she's
I agree.
like a staple. But she gave me such a telling off one night when I got back to the dormitory at 4 a.m. And it's sort of like a funny sequence to imagine because surely Arthur was just with her.
Right.
When they returned, but it seems as though he was caught by Apollyon Pringle,
right?
The caretaker, so the former Filch.
Which is to say, you might be like, wait, does that mean Filch isn't a poltergeist? It's like, no, it's not what it means at all. It means that Apollyon Pringle was also a poltergeist.
Yes, and actually, I don't even think that this damages the theory in any way, shape, or form, because Peeves has a whole history, if you go into the archives on Pottermore, and a big portion of like Peeves as a staple in the castle is that like he has been, they have tried to banish him on numerous occasions and like have basically struck a deal with Peeves that like allows him to remain on an ongoing basis, but that doesn't mean that would be the case for the likes of Apollyon Pringle or Argus Filch. And then if you even fast forward to Deathly Hallows, there's the moment where Filch comes like running up the like into the Great Hall, and it's like, students out of bed.
Yeah.
And McGonagall's like, you blithering idiot, like, and she's like, he's like, Peeves, and she's like, haven't you been going on about him for like a quarter of a century? So anyway, timeline wise, I think it ends up working out just fine. Like, it sounds like Filch has just been there for about 25 years.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
That's about the extent of his manifestation.
Okay, that totally works. It makes you wonder what happened to Apollyon Pringle, why he would have fizzled at some point, whether there just wasn't as such heavy. It's probably when Dumbledore takes over, right? Is that there's not such heavy rule strictness.
Yes, I think I would actually assume that that's absolutely the case, because Filch sort of has this like fascination with things like thumb screws and maybe it's just a movie line where he's like, I can still hear the screaming.
Yeah, God, I miss the screaming.
However, the next line that we have is, he was the caretaker in those days. Your father still got the marks, which means that he was physically like
hit, like beaten or something.
Yes, reprimanded for this particular occasion. But we know that Dumbledore is like in favor of like some good old jovial rule breaking, and even almost has sort of like a mocking relationship with the list of banned objects on Filch's door.
And we super know that he is not okay with the students being harmed.
100%.
So there's no way, like when like Filch like seems like he harkens back to a time when this was allowed, but there's just no way that he was ever like allowed to do these things at all. So like to me, it's like his memory of it comes from the fact that it's like the same like spirit, just in a new form.
Yeah, I think that's my interpretation.
Yeah, like Apollyon, like he has memories from Apollyon Pringle,
right,
from when he was him.
The real game
that's my headcanon for it.
Yeah, the real game would be to discover if there's any interesting etymology behind the name Apollyon and Argus or Filch for that matter. Filch, I'm fairly certain is supposed to be a play on filth. But like, yeah, if there's anything to Apollyon Pringle, that would suggest that it's like a predecessor to an Argus in Greek mythology or something. A lot of times that's where names like this come from. So anyway, so then Harry gives Molly and Bill a tour of the castle grounds, but before they pass Amos Diggory, who is just an absolute like bag of hammers.
He is in true form right here.
Yes.
Bet you're not feeling quite as full of yourself, which I highlighted and was like, I don't think Harry has felt full of himself for one moment in his entire life.
Oh my gosh, I know. And this tone of voice, everything about this is so different from Cedric. Like Cedric became a good person, despite who his father was.
Well, Harry's the same in some way, where it's like he became a good person despite being raised by the Dursleys.
Also true.
Yeah.
Also true. That's a good point. But yeah. So Cedric immediately chimes in. He's just sort of like, ignore him. He's just been angry ever since the Rita Skeeter article. And, then Amos is like, didn't bother to correct her, though, did he? And
it's Harry's fault.
Right, exactly. And then Molly, of course, chimes in here. And I love this because I love whenever Molly sort of like takes Harry under her wing and just says, like, Rita Skeeter goes out of her way to cause trouble, Amos. I would have thought that you'd know that working at the ministry. And it's just sort of like, say the thing that nobody I feel like ever says to the people who are criticizing Harry.
Yeah.
It's just like now you've actually got somebody who's got like stance, ferocity, position to just like properly defend Harry.
Exactly. I love it. Like he thinks he's doing Cedric such a favor too, and Cedric's just like, oh my god.
It's like you're embarrassing me, Dad.
Right. Like even up here, it's like, I bet you're not feeling quite as full of yourself. That Cedric caught you up on points, are you? And it's like, are you feeling full of yourself? Your son is only tied with Harry, and Harry's in the 4th year and could have won the lake task. So
yeah, it's true. It's true. And he helped your son through the first task.
Yeah.
So,
just sad.
Right.
Anyway, he says, beaten him once before, haven't you? And it's like, sort of. Like, can someone please bring up the Dementors?
It's like we need to like roll back the tapes, because that's what he's talking about. Of course, is the Hufflepuff versus Gryffindor match last year when the Dementors showed up on the field. Harry fell off of his broom, and Cedric even called for a rematch because he thought that the outcome was unfair. So it's all ridiculous, but it's not Cedric's fault, obviously. So then they have an enjoyable morning walk around the sunny grounds. Bill and Mrs. Weasley showing the Beauxbatons carriage and the Durmstrang ship. Mrs. Weasley is intrigued by the Whomping Willow, which had been planted after she had left school. This gives you just a little bit of like knowledge base as to the age differential between Molly and Arthur and James and Lily, because it would be James is born in 1960. The Whomping Willow was planted in 71, which is the year that Lupin would arrive at the school, which just means that Og and Apollyon Pringle and like Molly Weasley and Arthur Weasley all were there completely prior to.
Right, and I think because Bill says he hasn't been there in 5 years, and he's the oldest one, that he's 23 then here?
Or 22, 17 plus 5.
Yes, sorry, 22. Wow, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, 22, 23, that range.
Right.
And that means that like they would have been having, if he's in Harry's 14 there, so it's like probably like 8 years ahead on the like Marauders ish.
Yes,
I think if they have Bill right away.
If they have Bill right away, yeah.
Right.
So it also places Molly and Arthur in like probably mid-40s.
Yeah, sorry. That's if Molly and Arthur got married immediately and then immediately had Bill.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah. So then the other kind of curious thing is whether or not like Og was Hagrid's mentor.
I know, right?
If he was like the gamekeeper before Hagrid.
Seems like he would have had to have been, because certainly. Like, he would have been there when Hagrid was in school then, probably.
Timelines are kind of interesting, yeah, because Hagrid would be 13 when he's expelled in 1942. And so if you're trying to place this somewhere in the 1960s, then that would give... Hagrid would be coming up on 30 years old around the time that, like, Og... If Og is retiring around when Molly and Arthur graduated, then it means that, Hagrid would basically take over the post from him when he was like in his early 30s.
Right.
I think would be...
Right, because Hagrid would have been expelled, but then he said Dumbledore brought him back on. But if Og was the caretaker when the Weasleys were there and they were there... they didn't start going to Hogwarts until after Hagrid was expelled.
Right.
Then it's like Hagrid wasn't the official gamekeeper for a while, but he was brought on immediately.
Right.
So... yes, I think this must have been his mentor for some time. Which then makes you think, I can't believe it doesn't come up more.
It is surprising. It is surprising. It's an interesting detail, and just another, like, honestly, like especially because these happen like basically one page apart. I don't know that I would get a Polygon Pringle as the caretaker and Og correct as gamekeeper and caretaker. Like those I feel like those things are details that my brain refuses to sort properly.
Right, I know.
Anyway, but so then Harry kind of shifts the subject from kind of this fun history about Hogwarts and the people that work there before, the timelines that we know about for the most part, and asks about Percy, which is a great question because basically Barty Crouch Sr., as far as anybody is concerned, has gone missing completely, and Percy has been claiming, especially going back to his letter that Ron got back to him around Easter. He's like, I think I could be expected to recognize my own superior's handwriting,
right?
And it's sort of like, well,
but apparently you can't.
Starting to look kind of bad.
Yeah, and then they seem to think there was a chance they weren't genuinely written by him. And it's like, yep, starting to get a little bit more clues here, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, Percy's been under a lot of strain. They're not letting him in for Mr. Crouch as the fifth judge tonight. Even that is sort of like, well, wait, really? Which, honestly, the reason for that is because they weren't Cornelius Fudge there. And then he can be there the moment everything happens and have the whole conversation over Harry's bed and all that. So.
If anything, it's kind of surprising to me that Fudge just wouldn't be a judge anyway. Just kind of given
Judge Fudge.
Judge Fudge. Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I like that one. Yeah. Cornelius Judge. Let's see here. So yeah, it sounds like Percy is kind of dealing with a lot with that. Then they finally make it back to the castle for lunch, and Ron gets the kind of like rendezvous. Rendezvous, as it were. And I love that his conversation about how his exam went on history of magic, and Ron's like, oh, it was okay. I couldn't remember all the Goblin Rebellion names, so I just invented a few. It's all right.
Yeah.
It's like,
don't worry, it wasn't hard.
They're all called stuff like Bodrod the Bearded and Erg the Unclean. It wasn't hard.
Yeah, no sweat.
Yeah, it's like, I love that. And like in Ron's mind, he's like, that's fine. I came up with stuff. It's probably good.
Yeah, exactly. You think that'll probably be pretty proud of me for that, right?
That's how it works.
I love how Rod, like where he says like, what are you doing here? And they're like, come to watch Harry. It's like, not to see you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, your
son,
your best friend.
Yeah.
Hey, don't eat this, okay?
Yeah.
Hardly means anything.
But then I love it says Fred, George, and Ginny came to sit next to them too. When Harry was having such a good time, he almost felt as though he were back at the Burrow, and it's like, oh, it's like hanging out with his family.
It's like, people I love so much.
Great. Yeah.
Then we have the obvious moment for Hermione to have told us about what's going on with Rita Skeeter, and of course Hermione is sort of like, yeah, not right now because Mrs. Weasley is here.
Yeah.
And then we've got a hello, Hermione.
Hello.
Said Mrs. Weasley much more stiffly than usual.
After she just told off Amos for believing Rita Skeeter.
I know,
Yeah.
yes. And so yeah, there's a little bit of hypocrisy going on there. Harry looked between them and said, Mrs. Weasley, you didn't believe that rubbish Rita Skeeter wrote in Witch Weekly, did you? Because Hermione's not my girlfriend. Oh, said Mrs. Weasley. No, of course I didn't.
I would love it. Wouldn't it be funny if that wasn't the reason she was being cold and Harry just accused her of something?
Oh my gosh.
And she's like, what? No, what?
What does that have to do?
No, I just told Amos Rita Skeeter is terrible. Hello, Hermione. I just don't like you.
I just don't like you.
Yeah.
Ron sent me a letter and said you went to the Yule Ball with Victor Crumb instead of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway. But this is, of course, what's going on. And she becomes considerably warmer to Hermione after that. So that's good, at least.
Yeah, that is what happens.
Yeah.
So then Ludo Bagman and Cornelius Fudge have joined the staff table. Bagman looked quite cheerful, but Cornelius Fudge, who was sitting there next to Madame Maxime, looked stern and was not talking. So do you think that's because he's sitting next to Madame Maxime, because he read the article about Harry, or because they still haven't found Barty Crouch?
Combination?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like last we saw Fudge, he was accusing Madame Maxine of potentially being the person who caused Barty Crouch Sr. to go missing.
Yeah.
So it's possible that he doesn't want to be there. It says that Madame Maxine is concentrating on her plate, and Harry thought that her eyes looked red. Harry kept glancing along the table at her. So it seems as though maybe like something must have happened. Like, do you think that possibly even as recently as this very day, Fudge arrived to do the judging and like accused Madame Maxine of something?
No, I think it has to do with Hagrid.
Has to do with Hagrid.
Yeah, because that's what it says. Hagrid kept glancing along the table at her. I think she's had a conversation with Hagrid, and Hagrid's continuing to like rebuff her.
Well, it says Hagrid kept glancing along the table at her, which makes me think that he's almost becoming like more sympathetic to what's going on.
Maybe. I was counting her plate, and Harry thought her eyes looked red. I mean, it sounds like she's crying. So I mean, to me, it sounds like maybe she tried to like make up with Hagrid. I've always interpreted this as like her and Hagrid had a bad conversation.
And then maybe like Hagrid's feeling bad after the fact. Like, why else would he be like looking at her?
Because he's just sort of like, he feels guilty and is like looking up at her.
I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
because from like what Hagrid believes, because he doesn't know about Rita Skeeter yet or anything. So what Hagrid thinks is that, and the only person he tells is Madame Maxime. So what Hagrid thinks is that Madame Maxime is the one who told Rita Skeeter that he's a half giant. So, and then, which she didn't.
Right.
So then she's hurt that Hagrid thinks that she betrayed his trust.
Okay, that's a good point.
Right.
That's a good point. Yeah, I haven't read it that way before. That's a excellent observation. Very astute. Okay, so then we have is it Ludo Bagman basically announcing, ladies and gentlemen, in 5 minutes time, I'll be asking you to make your way down to the Quidditch field for the third and final task of the Triwizard Tournament. It is sure to be quite the spectacle. Ha, he doesn't say that last bit. I added that for for a little fun.
Yeah. Will the champions please follow Mr. Bagman down to the stadium now?
Yeah, so then we get like Bagman sort of kind of continuing. Like at this point, are you still suspecting Bagman at all?
I mean, I guess you're really supposed to like not. I don't know. I mean, he's still trying to help Harry kind of cheat a little, I guess, or he's like feeling all right, confident.
Yes,
you know, he doesn't. Yeah. I guess actually straight up offer him anything, but. Yeah, I like. Why would you still be suspecting Bagman at this particular moment? I guess because there's nothing that's necessarily dissuaded you from it.
I mean, I think that like Harry asks after seeing like the Pensieve memories, he asks Dumbledore, he's like, Ludo Bagman, and he's like, has never been accused of.
Right.
Like affiliation with dark magic sense or something like that.
Well, so I don't think Harry has much reason to suspect Ludo Bagman anymore, but if you're the reader, like as just someone who reads books in general, you might be thinking that that's the misdirect, that like because it seems so unlikely to be Bagman that it is.
That's a good point. That's a good point. And the other thing too is that like also we now have the hindsight, which is that like, because the other thing too is that the actual answer is Barty Crouch Jr. and no part of you is suspecting him right now either.
Oh, I know. Yeah, so many other people have fallen under like suspicion.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't think Ludo's quite out of the woods from the reader's perspective yet. Then.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see here. So they walk into the Quidditch field, which was now completely unrecognizable. 20-foot high hedge ran all the way around it. There was a gap in front of them. The entrance to the vast maze. The passage beyond it looked dark and creepy.
Dark and creepy. It feels like a surprisingly I don't know, basic sentence. Like normal, I feel like there's normally more description. It would be like it's just sort of telling you it's creepy.
It's dark and creepy.
Creepy.
It would normally, it would seem much more likely within the Harry Potter saga to describe it in a way that like lets you know that it's creepy without saying it's creepy.
Right.
Like a character might say something is creepy.
Right.
And in fact, I think that somebody says that about Moody's eye.
It's creepy. Parvati says it.
Yeah,
or maybe it's
right.
Lavender. One of those two. Yep. In any case, 5 minutes later, the stands... See, this is where it says, in 5 minutes later, the stands have begun to fill. Like, that sounds like the Quidditch stands, right? They just said they walked onto the Quidditch field. 5 minutes later, the stands have begun to fill.
I would absolutely interpret this to be the Quidditch stands.
Yeah.
Hundreds of students filed into their seats. That approximation of the number of students seems about correct to me, which I think we've been able to get it as high as like 300 and change.
Yeah.
So hundreds does seem accurate.
Yep.
The sky was a deep clear blue now, and the first stars were starting to appear. This is an interesting selection, given that there are 4 of them, and there's a commonality between 2 of them. But it says, Hagrid, Professor Moody, Professor McGonagall, and Professor Flitwick came walking into the stadium and approached Bagman and the champions. They were wearing large red luminous stars on their hats, all except for Hagrid, who had his on the back of his moleskin vest, which just kind of seems fun and festive. But it's strange to me that you've got Flitwick and McGonagall, who would both be heads of houses, and not just Sprout and Snape.
I know. Once again, Sprout. Where's Sprout? Where is Sprout? And like, even if you want to have, it's surprising to me that even if you want to include Moody and Hagrid, that Sprout and Snape aren't also there.
I know, yeah. Like I wonder if that like breaks some type of like literary writing rule where it's like you don't want a group of 6. It's just too many.
It's just too many.
It's too many.
But this is, I mean, like I don't know. Also, but like Hagrid can't do magic, like,
No,
like, what's he gonna do?
I mean, I guess it feels like he's probably there because he's probably responsible for the Sphinx and the blast-ended Scroot and the Acromantula.
I think the Ministry is responsible for the Sphinx because
you're right.
Fudge tells the other minister that they're importing a Sphinx.
You are correct. Correct. Yeah, that's a good point.
But certainly the Acromantulas and the Scroots are down to him.
Right. Yeah. But either which way, I just think that's kind of interesting. It almost feels like a way to do the obvious people and then also have a reason for one of them to be moody.
Yeah.
And, it's kind of like, okay, yeah, like we're going to have Hagrid, Moody, McGonagall, and Flitwick. And that way that way it's not like Sprout, McGonagall, Flitwick, and Moody.
Right.
And it's like what about Snape?
What's Snape in there?
Yeah.
Come on now.
So anyway, but then they go on to explain, and it seems like they've like really ramped up like the safety measures here, because it's like, if you get into difficulty and wish to be rescued, send red sparks into the air and one of us will come and get you. Do you understand? This is the point where it almost feels like they could be like, Harry, you don't have to compete. Like, you can go in, send up red sparks, and like that's you forfeiting, and you've entered the maze.
Right.
You've agreed.
Like,
to
you've
the
done
contract.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess at this point in time, maybe it's kind of like, well, it's time for first. Like, might as well give him a go.
Yeah, give him a go.
Maybe he wins. Yeah. Okay.
And then, as ever, we get just the least pomp and circumstance before the anything starts. Like, just sonorous, ladies and gentlemen. And he says, Harry and Cedric are tied at 85 points each. Victor Crumb has 80 points. And in third place, Miss Fleur Delacour, no points to be mentioned. Didn't say how many she has.
Just in third.
Just in third. And go.
Yeah.
That's like the whole thing.
On my whistle, Harry and Cedric. Do you imagine he's okay, he gave a short blast on his whistle. So he's holding like an actual whistle. Which also feels like a shockingly non-magical way to do this.
I know. Like, it just sounds like he was like they were just sort of talking to them, and he was just like, all right, then turns around, and then it's like let me do the opening statements or whatever.
Right.
And then he just like does it, and he's like, so on my whistle then, and he's like, go. There's not even like, Harry and Cedric, please walk to the center of the maze. All right.
All I could think is that like when they were making the Goblet of Fire film, that this was something that the people in like the decision room were also having like a big laugh over, because the big joke in the film is that they keep firing the cannon at like the wrong time.
Yeah.
And it is kind of like a lopsided, awkward start.
Yeah.
So it feels like what they were trying to do was like pay homage to the fact that there isn't any pomp and circumstance.
Yeah.
However, for as far as I'd be concerned, I would be more okay with there being more. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I know the Wizarding World is kind of like silly and goofy, but I think for the sake of making the Triwizard Tournament more fun, it's more fun if it's like more like respected, ceremonial event.
Right. Yeah.
That's my personal take, but I suppose that's completely open to feedback. So.
Yeah. Just all I'm asking for is a take your mark,
Yeah.
There's none of that. It's just like, it feels like if you were at the Olympics, they just have all the runners, before the 100-meter dash, just sort of like kind of near the starting line. And they're like, all right, so the rules are the first one to the end of the line gets the gold medal. All right. On my whistle then. Go.
Yeah,
they're like, wait, let me get in the block.
They're already running.
Yeah.
Oh
my God. Yeah.
A giant spider.
Exactly.
Anyway, so yeah, then short blast on the whistle. Harry and Cedric hurried forward into the maze. The towering hedges cast black shadows across the path, and whether it was because they were so tall and thick or because they had been enchanted, the sound of the surrounding crowd was silenced the moment that they entered the maze. I definitely think it's the magic. That's
because you know what? Surrounding crowd.
Yes. Yeah. So it definitely is. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, as always, we've already read it so many times, but this is where I wrote the little note where I was like, excellent for spectators.
Yeah.
They can't hear anything.
Also, so then it says, after about 50 yards, they reached a fork. And I was like, 50? How long is the field?
Right. Yes.
Like, maybe it's just my muggle brain, but I'm like, I've always assumed it's about 100 yards.
Right.
Yeah. So this means like there is just a straight line halfway through, to which I'm like, that's pretty much where the cup is, right?
Yeah.
I guess it could be along the edge or something, not straight down the center. But when I read it, that's how I imagine it. Like they're at one end of it, there is a like an opening at the center, and it goes straight for 50 yards.
Maybe the extreme irony is that like directly in front of this fork is like where the cup actually sits.
Sure,
but it's sort
possible.
of like, but you other than your first turn, you can't possibly be closer and then but also further away from it at the same time.
Maybe
Maysby.
Yeah, Maysby. Yeah, this is where Crumb needs to walk up and just be like, Incendio! I win.
I win.
Yeah,
I
like
win.
no one thinks of burning the hedges.
Well, Harry tries it and it like kind of works.
It kind of works, but it's not like breaking the rules. It does work.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like
Yeah.
I can't believe because they're told what's coming. You know.
Oh, I know. Yeah, exactly. It's like everybody's looking at like defensive magic and all these hexes and stuff like that, which also is like to use against who, what?
Yeah.
Because I don't think that Harry ends up using. Does he end up using any of the? I guess he uses Impediment.
He uses Impedimenta. He uses Reducto. He tries Reducto on the mist and then never on anything solid, which is surprising. And then he uses Expelliarmus on the Acromantula. He uses Impedimenta and Stupefy.
Yeah. Anyway, so then but we're gonna have a lot of interactions between Cedric and Harry in particular once we get into the maze. So they are obviously together right now. They say see you. Harry goes left, which he will continue to do, and Cedric will continue to go right, which is just sort of like an interesting piece of continuity that holds up when they run into each other again.
Yeah. Then they hear the whistle, so Crumb enters the maze, to which I'm like, 5 points was only enough for 50 yards worth of head start.
Yeah, right. And like a light jog. It's like
I know.
It's like a 8-second head start.
Right. Come on.
Yeah.
Feels worth more than that. I don't know. I thought it would be like a 5-minute head start. How slow were you guys walking? Yeah.
Right. Or how short is this whole task?
Yeah.
Harry sped up. His chosen path seemed completely deserted, which, you know, this can sort of be interpreted a couple of different ways in your first pass. But what's actually happening is that Moody is obviously making sure that it's clear for him.
Right.
He held his wand overhead, trying to see as far as possible, but still there was nothing in sight.
Yeah.
And then you hear Bagman's whistle blow in the distance for the third time, which must be also some kind of magic because otherwise you're not hearing anything from outside of the maze. So
right.
the whistle must be like magically
like inside the bubble or whatever.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Let's see. So looking behind him, the odd feeling that he was being watched was upon him. That is because he is being watched by Moody with the eye.
Yep. Exactly. Maze was growing darker. Every passing minute, the sky overhead deepened to navy. He reached a second fork. Point me. And I actually think this is like total Boy Scout energy to come up with the compass concept. Which, I mean, it comes from Hermione, obviously, who thought of it. But this is a great strategy that he's enacting, and it definitely seems like it would give him otherwise a leg up.
You would think, but like, who's to say what the correct path through a maze is? You know, like not always the turn towards the center isn't always the way to the center.
Well, that is a good point, but I think that like at any given point in time, if you're using it, it lets you know where the correct end goal is relative to where you are. So at least you've got that. And it
That's
seems
true.
Like, I think he uses it rather effectively.
Yeah. I think what's interesting about the point me spell is that it's in English.
Oh, that is interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe
It's just point me.
Right. Maybe the actual Boy Scouts invented it.
Yeah. Right.
All right. So, but Harry didn't know why, but the lack of obstacles was unnerving him. I think we've brought this up so many times, like when he like leaves the Dursleys in Prisoner of Azkaban, he like knows Sirius is watching him. He's correct. Like his instincts are on point.
Yeah.
Like the fact that there aren't things that he's running into, it's like he's not facing dangers because what Moody wants or Barty Crouch Jr. wants is the real danger.
Right.
And so Harry, I think, is reading the situation correctly in that particular situation. Then he heard movement right behind him. He held out his wand, ready to attack, but its beam fell only upon Cedric, who again he ran into again, who had just hurried out of a path on the right side. Cedric looked severely shaken. The sleeve of his robe was smoking. Hagrid's blasted screws, he hissed. They're enormous. How he just got away.
Nice. So Cedric is running into things.
That's right.
Already.
Yep.
Let's see. The thing I have to remember too is that Harry is going to have run into way fewer things than Cedric.
Yep.
And he is eventually going to come across the Sphinx, which is apparently the most direct path to the cup, and yet Cedric is still going to beat him there.
Yes. Yeah. So I think that's kind of like the really, really big thing here too, is that it's like you always think of it as if like Harry and Cedric tied, but Harry does have a genuine handicap on his side where like he's not running into the same obstacles.
Yeah.
And Cedric is. So I think it just more the main point I would be trying to make is just that Cedric is a great wizard.
Yeah, exactly. So there's that. And then so they separate again, and he turned a corner and sees a Dementor gliding towards him, 12 feet tall, his face hidden by its hood. Harry could hear the rattling breath. And then, of course, he knows what to do. He watches it stumble, or does the Patronus, gets that out there, watches it stumble, and then destroys it with a well-placed ridiculous spell. But okay, this is where I thought this was maybe a fun, like tiny little theory thing here.
Okay.
Right? Because Boggart's not really that difficult to get rid of if you know what you're doing.
Sure.
Right?
Yep.
Exactly. Right? Like even Molly is like, oh, I'll go take care of it, which of course she can't later on, but she considers it to be an easy thing to get rid of. Right? So Barty Crouch Jr. has been blasting everything out of Harry's way. This should be a pretty easy one, but why doesn't he get rid of the Boggart is because he must be absolutely terrified of whatever he saw.
Oh.
Right? That's why Harry has to do it. Like Barty Crouch Jr. couldn't take the Boggart because whatever it turned into scared the bejesus out of him. He was like, whoa, no, I don't think so. I don't think so.
It's very interesting in a couple of different ways, because the other thing that I can imagine Barty Crouch Jr. might be afraid of is Dementors. Like, Harry turns and it's already in Dementor form.
True.
And he went to Azkaban. Like,
that's true. Yeah, you would think Dementors would be pretty high up on his list of things he doesn't like.
Right. But I follow your meaning exactly, where it's sort of like the alternative there. It's like what would he see? Like possibly like his father back alive.
Right.
Just trying to think of things that would be detrimental to his cause. It's like he's even seeing like
Dumbledore.
Like I was gonna say, like Dumbledore is probably like one of the biggest threats, but he's been successfully flying under Dumbledore's nose this whole time.
That's true.
So it's like
could it even just be Voldemort?
I suppose it could be Voldemort.
Yeah.
That would also probably prevent him from attacking it.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like this moment too, because it's just like we're getting to see Harry's experience that he's been learning throughout the course of the past several years, sort of like compounding into just like talent. He just knows how to do this.
Yeah.
And he's not slowed down by it at all. But then, of course, after using the ridiculous charm, the stag fades away, which it's kind of like one of those sad moments, because Harry says that he wished it could have stayed because he could have used some company.
Yeah, I was like, just summon it again?
Right. Well, that's certainly a possibility. But then also it's kind of sad in a way, because like the stag represents James, who he will also then see later tonight, and will also give him strength in that situation as well.
Yes.
So yeah, then he's kind of like continuing forward. He's taking lefts and right turns. He runs into a couple of dead ends. Does the 4-point spell. He was going too far east. He turned back, turned right. Saw an odd golden mist floating ahead of him. So this is another thing that was just completely left out of the movies, as we talked about earlier. This is one that gives me the finger tingles when I think about it.
Oh my gosh, I know. It's like, because what's crazy about this is that, like, upon stepping on it, it feels like the world turns upside down. But like for Harry, there must be some actual effect to it, because his like glasses start to fall off his nose.
Yeah,
you know?
So it's literally almost as if like the world is like inversed. But I sometimes think about it where it's like, is there such a thing as a fear of heights if you are swimming in like particularly deep water?
Well, I mean, people are afraid of deep water for sure.
Well, and I know that people are afraid of deep water, but like it seems like sometimes there is like I wonder at all if it's because the next time ground will be beneath you is like, let's say you're swimming in 300 feet of water, and it's like, okay, like what is it? Is it the void? Because when Harry ends up stepping upside down, basically what's beneath him now is the sky. So the idea of falling into the sky would be like falling off of the earth into
space.
Yeah. So that, I mean, that it definitely is like very like whoo.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That would get you.
Yeah.
Would get you for sure.
It's tricky. So this is where he tries the Reducto spell, which he won't try at any other solid things he comes across, like the Blast-Ended Scroot or the Acromantula later on.
What does he do to get through the hedge? Does he end up using it for that?
That's what he uses it for.
He does. Okay. Yeah. That's what I thought.
Yes. So do you think it's like significant that the mist is gold? Like, given like Harry's constant association with the color?
I don't know. You're right, but it doesn't really feel like there's anything about it that gives it like enough symbolic resonance to me.
Yeah. I mean, other than I think that like it's like ultimately what it is it's a courage test.
Yeah,
You know,
true.
like that's how you solve it, is being brave enough to take the next step.
Or that's a good point. That's a
Yeah.
good point. The idea of it being upside down is also, I guess, now that I say it out loud, kind of representative of like winning the tournament is also the worst possible outcome, which is not what you would expect.
Right.
Like, it's like the inverse of how it's supposed to be. Like winning would be a good thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but the people putting on the tournament don't know that.
No, of course they don't.
Yeah.
No. That's that. I'm speaking more from like a literary
Yeah,
standpoint.
yes, for sure.
So that's I do think that's a very good point though. I hadn't considered the fact that the solution to the mist is bravery, which would harken back to Harry because he's a Gryffindor.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's even one of the Gryffindor colors.
Yeah. Also true. Yeah. I love that. So the world turned upside down. And basically what he has to do is pretty much just like calm himself down and force himself to lift his right foot as hard as he can and like away from what is referred to as the grassy ceiling.
Yeah.
Which I think is the perfect descriptor because it's like, ooh, yeah.
I know.
That does screw with you.
It's weird. Also, it's worth noting that he isn't even sure if he's going to go into the mist, and then he hears Fleur screaming, and that's what makes him go into the mist in the first place.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I guess it would have been without Fleur screaming. It would be difficult to explain why he just tempts fate here.
Yeah.
So
it's like it is like his, heroics, his like heroic nature that takes him into the mist.
True. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Let's see here.
Did he dare move? Did he dare move his foot? Try and move. And he eventually decides that yes, he can. Reasons it out, and immediately the world righted itself. So yeah, it's like just like a test of courage more than anything. But afterwards, he's not even worried about like winning the task. He's just like, "Where's Fleur?" He paused at a junction of two paths and looked around for some sign of Fleur. So he's not even trying to win now. Like immediately, like. I think Hermione's going to bring this up later on in Order of the Phoenix, where she's like, "Don't you think you've got like a bit of a saving people thing?"
Yeah,
and it's like, yep, he kind of does.
He does. But
I mean, that's what happened in the second task, and that's what's happening now.
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
But the thing is about like Harry, it's like I think it's so easy to see why you wouldn't want to be described that way because it seems like you're chasing heroics, and it's like I think the reality of Harry is that he's not chasing heroics. He just is heroic.
Right, exactly.
Exactly. And so I think it's I think he's a little like burnt when Hermione says that to him. He's like, no, like, that's not like who I am.
Yeah.
But it is true. He kind of can't help but try to help people.
Yeah, I mean, Voldemort does take advantage of that part of Harry.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
to lure him to the Ministry.
With Sirius.
With Sirius,
right. Yeah. But he does also like as much as he is concerned about Fleur, he does sort of have like in the back of his mind like one champion down, like the cup was somewhere close by, and it sounded as though she wasn't really in the running. Like he'd gotten this far, like kind of the same way that like Harry has a little bit of confidence coming into it. It's like he's in the maze right now, and it's like it's starting to occur to him. It's like I had a 25% chance of winning. Now it's up to 33% chance. Like, things are, I'm going in the right direction.
Yeah.
Can I do this?
Right.
Then he met nothing for 10 minutes, which does feel like a very
long time.
Yep. Then he rounded another corner and found himself facing a blasted Scroot, and Cedric was right. It was enormous.
Yep.
10 feet long. It looked more like a giant scorpion than anything. Its long sting was curled up over its back. Its thick armor glinted in the light from Harry's wand as he pointed at it. Stupefy.
So you should have gone for Reducto here, man.
I know, yeah. Spell hit the Scroot's armor and rebounded, which totally makes me think that at some point in time in the future, if there was like Scroot body armor, I was like, that'd be pretty
cool. Then you could answer Draco's question, like, what is it used for?
Right, yes, exactly.
Yeah,
it's like,
we harvest the armor.
We harvest that. Then it's like, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yep. So impedimenta doesn't work either.
Well, it does when he turns the caps lock on.
Oh, you're right. That's a
Yeah.
good point. Yeah. You gotta say it in all caps.
All caps.
Sometimes speaking in all caps makes all the difference.
Yes.
Yeah. But he manages to hit it on the fleshy, shellless underside. Everything has to have a weakness.
Everyone has to have a fleshy, shellless underside, of course. Yeah.
Exactly.
Ridiculous. Yeah. Good for Harry, I guess.
Right.
Doesn't try to incapacitate it any more than that. Just like gets around it and keeps moving. And this is when he comes across Cedric and Crumb, he hears Cedric yelling, "What are you doing? What the hell are you doing?" And Crumb is performing the Cruciatus Curse on Cedric. So Cedric not having a real good night. But here, let me hit you with another theory from inside the maze.
Okay.
Ready? So right here, like we know Cedric is going to get Avada Kedavra later on.
Yep.
In a couple minutes here. And right now he's hitting the Crucio curse. I think it is possible that Cedric had all 3 unforgivable curses cast upon him
on the same night.
But that, of course, the Imperious curse didn't work for reasons we discussed earlier.
Because he's got too much strength of character.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because I literally was like, my mind sort of like latched onto the same thing where I'm like, that's like 2 of 3.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, but there's no obvious sign of like the Imperious curse. Like that's only really used like on Crumb, which is what's happening to Crumb.
What's happening right now.
Yeah. Which also, I mean, I think it's another thing with Barty Crouch Jr. where it's like, how powerful is he that he is actively controlling Crumb with one unforgivable curse and then having him do the other one.
I know.
It's like that's like layers.
Right.
But you're right. I do think there's a decent possibility that Cedric is sort of like a major glaring issue in Barty Jr.'s plan, and it almost to his demise, because Cedric technically could have won.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Harry tells him to win.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, it was so close.
Yeah.
Let's see. This is where Harry tries the Reductor curse again. Wasn't very effective, but burned a small hole in the hedge. To which I'm like, yeah, why didn't you guys I can't believe someone didn't think just light the hedges on fire, go straight to the center.
Just go straight. Yeah. Just
how hard is this? Should have been Fleur strategy. Like, okay, no one else thought of that. All right, no one's here to copy me, so
burn a hole.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. But yeah, so then he sees Harry makes it through the hole, sees Cedric jerking on the ground, Crumb standing over him. Harry immediately stupefies Crumb. I'm sorry, Crumb is running away, and then Harry stupefies him, and it stops him dead.
Yeah, but Crumb turning and running is also just fairly suspicious, because like, why not just attack Harry? Why not attack Harry as well?
You mean it's suspicious from Harry's perspective? Like, why would he be attacking Cedric and then not attack me?
Right.
Yes, I agree with you. Yeah. Yes,
but then Crumb attacking Cedric is also just, one final giant, huge misdirect to the reader that like, oh my God, it was Crumb, or like, oh, Crumb wasn't a good guy at all. Like,
Right. You're meant to, kind of respond that way. And like Harry and Cedric even have this exact conversation. They're like, I can't believe this. Like, I thought he was all right.
Yeah.
And Cedric's like, so did I.
I know. But I like that too, because it's like, guess what? They both just have good instincts. Like, they're right. He is a good guy.
He is a good guy. Yes. Exactly.
Yeah.
But then, he asked, did you hear Flora scream earlier? And Cedric's like, yeah, you don't think Crumb got her too? And Harry's like, I don't know. And then like, should we leave? And Harry's like, or should we leave Crumb here? And Harry's like, no, I reckon we should send up Red Smark. Someone will come and collect him.
Otherwise I'll get eaten by a scroot.
And then Cedric probably saying the only savage thing that Cedric ever says is, he deserve it.
I know. But so what I thought that same thought, but I left a note that says, do you think anyone really deserves that? Because like when Harry is first confronted with the idea of Sirius getting the Dementor's kiss, he's like, he deserve it.
Right. It's true. It's true.
And Lupin has to be like, well, let's take a step back here.
Right. Yeah. Let's think it through. Like, I don't know if we need to give favor to the Dementors under really any circumstances.
Yeah.
So they send up the Red Sparks, obviously, which means that Crumb is now out, and now we're down to a 50%.
Which means Hogwarts wins.
Hogwarts wins. I know. Yeah. You can only imagine that the crowd's probably going crazy up there.
Yeah. Right.
Because that's the other thing. They see this?
They see that? I mean, they could probably see it, but don't know that it's the Cruciatus curse.
Maybe not. Maybe they just see
looks like, oh my God.
Well, and that's like a weird question to like not ask is, can we attack each other? Can we like, do we duel?
Can we do it? Like, dueling's allowed. That doesn't seem not allowed. It doesn't seem very sportsmanlike, but
I mean, that's the question. Yeah. It's sort of like we just don't know.
Right. They just started the chair. They just walk into the maze and Cedric's immediately like, stupefy. That was easy.
It's like, silly of them to let us go in at the same time.
I know. Come on, man. You can get in front of me like that? Jeez.
Not smart.
Yeah.
And so let's see here. So but it is interesting. Harry kind of like comments on the fact that he had been briefly united with Cedric against Crumb, but now they were in fact opponents, and the two of them proceeded the path without speaking. Harry turned left again, and Cedric turns right again. Cedric's footsteps soon dying away. It was between him and Cedric now. His desire to reach the cup first is now burning stronger than ever. This is really the first time that I think even like you, the reader, are given like this glimmer of hope that Harry could win.
I know. You're like, oh man, whoa, yeah.
It's like, and you like immediately, as soon as it's like on the table, and like Harry realizes, you're like, oh,
I know. You're like, man, if he just wins, then sort of like, boy, they tried to get him, but they didn't, and Harry just won.
He just won.
Yeah.
Yay, our boy.
Yeah.
What's Amos going to say now?
Exactly.
But he could hardly believe what Crumb just did. And I mean, in his thinking is exactly right. Like, Crumb surely couldn't have wanted the Triwizard Cup so badly as to, like, potentially, land himself a life term in Azkaban.
Oh, I know. But, like, Harry isn't getting it right. Like, he doesn't want the Triwizard Cup that badly. He's just being controlled.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. This is when he finally runs into the Sphinx. The body of an overlarge lion, great clawed paws, and long yellowish tail ending in a brown tuft. Its head, however, was that of a woman. And
do you know what's interesting is that I just noticing this is that he'd only seen pictures from his Monster Book of Monsters, not Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them.
It's a good point.
Yeah. There you
good
go.
point,
It's like
yeah.
I think it's like the only time like what kind of creatures were in the Monster Book of Monsters.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. But I think we also know that the Sphinx is in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them.
They are.
I'm pretty sure it's an installment.
Well, I suppose hippogriffs must be in the Monster Book of Monsters as well because that's Hagrid's first lesson.
That's also a good point. Also a good point. But yeah, the Sphinx is really interesting because I think it's an excellent obstacle because basically it's going to be a very difficult thing to get past because it requires wit. So that's another question too. So if we've got the Mist being a Gryffindor task, this is this is basically the Ravenclaw door knocker.
Yeah, I mean, Harry even says like, "Oh, this was the Hermione kind of task."
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Do we have obvious representations of the other two houses?
Let's see. I mean, we have the Acromantula, we have the Scroots. I don't know if either of those is obviously like Hufflepuff or Slytherin.
Right.
Like the spiders specifically don't seem Slytherin since they're afraid of the basilisk. And that would have to make the spiders Hufflepuff, which doesn't seem right either.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's any reason for it to be Hufflepuff.
Yeah.
This is like one where like I think in the movies, of course, they've got the vines being like a prominent obstacle, which would seam like an obvious Hufflepuff herbology kind of
guess, yeah.
situation. I mean, I guess the maze itself, is a plant.
Sure, I suppose, but that's like also just like drawing our own connection between like Sprout and Hufflepuff and herbology.
Right. Because Neville obviously eventually goes on to teach that class as a Gryffindor, so it doesn't necessarily have to be a Hufflepuff course.
Do you know? Yeah, like even when Ludo Bagman brings them down, and they're growing the maze. He says Hagrid will have these hedges 20 feet tall, not Sprout. Like, sure. What is Professor Sprout doing?
She's like,
is it growing plants? Is it defending her champion? Is it,
Sprout's just missing.
She's just missing. Sprout is missing.
Right, yes. Unless we need somebody to pop in for just a good boopa choopa puss.
The mysterious absence of Professor Sprout.
What happened to her?
Yeah.
Okay, but anyway, yeah, so you're very near your goal. The quickest way is past me. Something that I would just firmly believe.
Yeah.
And I love Harry. So you move, please. And it's like, I love that Harry's dropping in the manners, and she says, no.
Nope.
Not unless you can answer my riddle. Answer on your first guess, I'll let you pass. Answer wrongly, I attack. Remain silent, I will let you walk away from me unscathed. So kind of an interesting thing, because it's like, especially if you're just looking at this as pure sport, it's kind of like, this is a big risk reward situation.
Yeah.
It's like, you're close. You're close. And it certainly seems like that's further confirmed by your options. Like, if you can beat me, then you're right there.
Right.
If you lose, you're up against me and you're probably going to lose.
I know. Like the way she says it's like I attack, it almost feels like she's like an invulnerable creature. It's like, you can get past me if you answer the question, but like if I attack you, there's nothing you can do about it. Because like otherwise you could just be like, what if I just attack you right now? Like,
Yes, true.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, that's a good point. So he's like, can I hear the riddle? And then finally, at long last, I feel like we've been making a joke about it for God knows how many chapters at this point in time with our situation that we have going on. But here is the riddle for you. First, think of the person who lives in disguise, who deals in secrets and tells naught but lies.
Right. That's going to be the spy,
the spy,
which kind of makes you think of like Snape as well. I don't know. I don't know if that's supposed to be like I suppose there are three main spies that you come across in the series, which are Snape and Wormtail and Barty Crouch Jr.
It's a very good point.
Yeah.
Next, tell me what's always the last thing to mend, the middle of middle and end of end.
Right. This is, of course, just the letter D.
The letter D.
Yeah.
Yep.
Last letter of mend, middle of middle, and end of end.
Right.
There you go.
And finally, give me the sound often heard during the search for a hard-to-find word.
And just one of the best payoffs what a crazy payoff this one is.
It's so funny because it's been so used.
Yeah. It has been so used. We brought it up every single time. Even when he's trying to figure out what the imposter is, says, who lies? That'd be an imposter. Like, he does it right there.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Yep. So then now string them together and answer me this. Which creature would you be unwilling to kiss? And yeah. So then he starts to work through it. Person in disguise. I feel like this is absolutely just a straight up nod to Moody. Even the fact that we have like the usage of the word imposter right there on the page.
It's absolutely.
Super on the nose. No, that's not my guess. A spy. I'll come back to that. Could you give me the next clue again? Then she goes through it, and then Harry, the last thing to mend, Harry repeated, no idea. Middle of middle. Kind of last bit again. She gave the last 4 lines. The sound often heard during a search for hard to find words, said Harry, that'd be, hang on. Is a sound. Yeah, it is.
Oh my gosh, it sure is, Harry.
Spy, said Harry, pacing up and down. A creature I wouldn't want to kiss. A spider.
So he never solves the D clue at all.
That's right. Just
yes. Works it out by, process of elimination there by crosswording it, basically.
Exactly right.
Yes.
Yep. But you, the reader, can do so on your own time if you choose so, because the middle of middle is in fact D, and the end of end is also D.
Yes.
Yep. Yep. So then he had to be close now, as Juan was telling him that he was bang on course. I love that phrasing.
Bang on.
And it's like okay. It's like it's good phrasing to get you, the reader, excited too. It's like, okay, we're almost there.
Yeah. Yep. So let's see. It says dashed up this one. The Triwizard, and then he can see it. The Triwizard Cup was gleaming on a plinth 100 yards away. Which again, I ask, how big is the field?
Yes.
100 yards.
Now all you can imagine is that like the maze like squirreled you all through, and then like over like to the right hand side was just a full blown straight.
Right. Yeah. And it was just like, yes, it's so hard to find this hallway.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. If anything, if our spacing was correct, that could also be the case where you're supposed to grab it, and instead of being a port key to the front, it's almost just like the maze right in front of you, like
opens,
and you're just standing back in front of the audience.
Right. Yeah. Although they say it's at the center of the maze,
it does say that.
It says it's at the center of the maze, and if it's 100 yards away, that means the Quidditch pitch has to be at least 200 yards minimum, which I guess is possible. But
I mean, Quidditch seems like a sport because you're flying. Like, you could travel the course of 100 yards quite quickly.
Yeah, I mean, it absolutely does. I mean, finding the snitch in a 200-yard long field seems way harder than 100 yards.
Definitely.
Like it feels like if you're in because I'm imagining like a football stadium. It feels like if you're in the stands at a football stadium, you could probably just find the snitch like that.
Probably so.
Very quickly. You can just see all of the air in front of you. But if it was 2 football fields in front of you, you probably would have trouble finding a tiny thing flying around at the other end of it.
Somebody is going to comment and be like, guys, it tells us how big the Quidditch pitch is, at some point.
Does it?
And, I mean, it feels like it would.
Feels like it would.
It feels like a detail that it would exist somewhere.
Although then though, if you have 200-yard stadium, the hoops are only 50 feet in the air. Then they seem kind of low.
They do seem a little low by comparison. Maybe that's just like high school rules.
Yeah, that's high school rules.
Yeah, exactly.
Go way up there,
Right. Yeah. For the professionals, it's 50 yards in the air.
Yeah.
3 times as high.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, so we see the Triwizard Cup 100 yards away, but Cedric shoots out in the path in front of him, and he is going to get there first. Cedric was much taller and had much longer legs. It's like those are details that I'm sort of like, yeah. But I mean, he's also just got a head start. So
right.
He's an athlete. They both play the same position. It's not unreasonable just to think that a head start would be enough.
Plus, we've seen Harry do some sprinting. I mean, he put 30 full seconds between him and Hermione, just between the castle and the woods.
That's
Harry's got some moves.
He's a quick little guy.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Harry sees something that Cedric does not, and he does yell ahead. It's like, Cedric, on your left. And then Captain America comes sprinting by. Ha! That was a Marvel joke. On your left.
Yeah. On your left.
Yeah.
Don't you do it. Don't you do it.
Right.
Yeah.
So Harry saw Cedric's wand fly out of his hand as a gigantic spider stepped into the path and began to bear down upon him. Stupefy, Harry yelled and tried to hit the spider's gigantic hairy black body.
Yeah. Once again, Harry's not like, whew, good thing something distracted him.
I know. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yep. The spider jerked, scuttled around, and ran at Harry instead. It's like, oh man, this didn't work out well.
Whoopsie.
Stupefy, impedimenta, stupefy. But it was no use. The spider was either so so large or so magical that spells were doing nothing more than aggravating it. So that sort of is what I meant with like the blast in its group before as well. Same situation where it's like the spells that you would use that Moody could be using to blast it out of the way must just not be working.
Right. Don't they use some spells against the spiders in Chamber of Secrets? Like, I think there is a spell they're using, but I cannot remember what it is now.
Ron and Harry?
Ron and Harry.
Huh.
Yeah, to like hit a few of them. Obviously, then I can't do much against all of them. But
Right.
Or is the card just maybe it's in the movie? I think in the movie they do.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
Either which way though, yeah. So Harry gets a horrifying glimpse of 8 shining black eyes and razor sharp pincers. And this is just so painful to imagine. But he's basically lifted up in the air, struggling madly. He tried to kick it. His leg connected with the pincers.
Ugh.
It was like, ouch.
Yowza.
Yeah, that moment he was in excruciating pain. He could hear Cedric yelling "Stupefy" too, but the spell had no more effect than Harry's. Harry raised his wand at the spider as it opened its pincer once more and shouted "Expelliarmus!" And the thing that he expels is him.
Yeah.
So,
But it's funny that like the other ones bounce off, but this one connects. Like I feel like it's just like Harry's a lot better at this one.
I think so.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, it's like that's demonstrating his abilities there. Good setup too, because he's about to use it in the graveyard as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then he drops 12 feet on his already injured leg. This is kind of like classic, like Harry in all of like the battles and stuff that he like goes into. It seems like he always ends up getting like a flesh wound or two.
Yeah.
Somewhere along the way.
Can't walk out unscathed.
Right.
you know.
Yeah. Basilisk gets him in the arm. I don't really know if there's anything specific that happens to him when he's facing down Quirrell, but he seems.
I mean,
to
he
be
passes out. you know.
Yeah. Oh, maybe all the keys have kind of like slashed him and stuff.
Yeah, no doubt. And I mean,
Yeah.
the chess pieces get Ron.
That's right.
You know, which I think in the book is a little more like Ron got hit with a sword and less like his horse got hit with a sword.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But maybe they didn't want to depict that in film form, just having like an 11-year-old kid get like stabbed.
Maybe you know what they need to do is just have the queen just totally backhand him. You know, just
Ooh.
like just boom,
Just like a little bit of attitude.
just like get out of here.
Yeah. But yeah, so anyway, they managed to subdue the spider, and then Cedric is like, "Harry, you all right? Did it fall on you?" So he's so caring.
Yeah.
Classic Cedric. But no, Harry called back, and he could see some sort of thick, gluey secretion from the spider's pincers on his torn robes, which,
Gross.
yeah, just kind of disgusting.
Just want to go ahead and throw it out there. That's like 10 gallons a pint if you're rather a buyer.
That's true. That's true. Thank goodness it didn't get into his open wound.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. But then you've got Cedric standing feet from the Triwizard Cup, which was gleaming behind him. "Take it then," Harry panted to Cedric. "Go on, take it. You're there." But Cedric didn't
Harry
move.
admitting defeat.
That's true.
Yep. But Cedric doesn't move. Says, "You take it. That you should win. That's twice you've saved my neck in here." And Harry is like, "Doesn't matter. That's not how it's supposed to work."
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Also, like I would, just to back up, while they're like Harry is in the clutches of the spider, if he sends up red sparks at that moment, like what on earth are the teachers gonna do?
I have no idea.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe they've temporarily allowed apparitions so they could just like.
Yeah. Whoops. Yeah, that's a good point. That'd be good. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Harry's kind of having like a moment of woe where he's just like, Cedric has beaten him just as he had beaten Harry to ask Cho to the ball. The
Not
one
really
who
the
reaches the
same
cup
thing.
first gets the point. That's you. I'm telling.
Remember when Harry was asking Cho to the ball and Cedric ran out of the hallway first and then got attacked by a spider?
I do.
Yeah.
And then,
That was a good scene.
And then Harry redirects the spider at him, and while he's on the ground, being like beaten to death, Cedric's like,
Cho, the ball!
"Would you go with me?"
He's like, "I'd love to."
And then Harry's like, he gets up and he's bleeding everywhere, and he's like, "Cho,
Hey.
you want to go to the ball with me?" He's like, "Oh,
I've already said I'll go with Cedric.
I've already set a goal." Like, "Oh
Set a
man,
goal.
stop being noble," Harry said irritably. "Just take it. We can get out of here."
Can you imagine if Cedric does it and just ruins the whole plan?
They're having a total nobility off. Maybe this is the real Hufflepuff challenge.
Yeah, this is it.
You've got the Mist for the Gryffindors. You've got the Sphinx for the Ravenclaws, and you've got just good-natured
Just Cedric
humanity.
himself.
Yeah. Just he's the challenge here. And so they go back and forth. They have all this positive exchange. Basically, you told me about the dragons. You helped me with the egg. We're square. You got more points the second task. I should have stayed behind and helped all the other hostages.
Why didn't I do that? And it's funny that he says I should have done that because that's basically what he's doing now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. Yep. But he was walking away from the sort of glory that Hufflepuff House hadn't had in centuries.
I feel like that's uninformed. I mean, who's to say what kind of glory they had before you got there, Harry. You know,
Exactly.
In centuries, no one in Hufflepuff House has done it. Like, come on now. What about Newt? He wrote that book that you all read.
Yeah, I know for a gosh darn fact that you haven't read Hogwarts history, so you can't possibly back this up.
I know. Come on. There's got to have been a few other good moments for old Badgers. Okay,
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
But it looked. Yeah, I like that it says that it was costing Cedric every ounce of resolution that he had, but his face was set, his arms were folded, and he seemed decided. And then finally, Harry sort of like comes up with the brilliant solution. Both of us.
Well, not quite yet. First it says, Harry looked from Cedric to the cup. For one shining moment, he saw himself emerging from the maze, holding it. He saw himself holding the Triwizard cuffed aloft, heard the roar of the crowd, saw Cho's shining face. To which I love for that one moment, Harry's like, I'm going to take the cup and your girl.
Unexpectedly savage from Harry.
Yeah. You know what? I could do it. And then maybe your girlfriend would break up with you too.
Right, yes. Just a brief moment there.
Yeah.
Brief moment of weakness. We've all been there, I guess. But okay, so I'm sorry. Then Harry says, both of us.
Exactly.
It's still a Hogwarts victory. We'll tie for it. You sure? And then Cedric's like, you're on. And I love this little moment of them kind of like coming together to basically, in a way it kind of becomes the Triwizard Tournament, because it's like, you've got the three schools and just one school is winning, Hogwarts.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you've got that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then on 3, 1, 2, 3. He and Cedric both grasped the handle. Instantly, Harry felt a jerk somewhere behind his navel. His feet had left the ground. He could not unclench the hand holding the Triwizard Cup. It was pulling him onward in a howl of wind and swirling color. Cedric at his side.
To the graveyard! This is basically like the last time he took a portkey too. Well, like the first time he took a portkey was also with Cedric.
Was also with Cedric. Yeah, it's kind of a neat setup there.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of mirrors the two situations.
It does.
But that, of course, brings us to the end of Chapter 31 and gets us ready for Chapter 32, Flesh, Blood, and Bone.
Yep, that's going to be a big one for sure. Things happen.
Before we close out for the day, Jay, do you have a review for us?
Well, I sure do, Ben. Boy, I forgot to write down who it was from, so I'm so sorry, but whoever you were. It says, Unforgivable Curses question. Hey, brother, love the podcast. My brother and I used to listen to these books so often we could guess what book, chapter, and disc the other one was on within seconds. And disc. That's impressive.
That is impressive. Well done.
Yeah, so it's nice to listen to people talk about all the things I catch on re-listens. My question for you is, what do you think about the association of each of the trio with the unforgivable curses? Harry is obviously the killing curse. Hermione gets tortured by Bellatrix, which leaves Ron with the Imperious curse. Maybe shown with Ron being so subject to Fleur's charms. Would this also support the idea that Percy and maybe even Arthur were under the curse at some point? Could this be a Weasley trait? Love the show. Look forward to it every week.
Oh, man. Very interesting question.
I like the idea that each of them is like associated with like one of the curses, because it's sort of also how it feels like with the Hallows. Like Harry wants the stone and Hermione wants the cloak and Ron wants the wand.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so, I think for sure, if they're right, Harry would be like the Avada Kedavra one.
It'd be hard not to be. I mean,
Yeah.
he's going to literally, he's overcome it twice by the end of the story. He obviously it's the thing that's made him most famous. It's the thing that sort of like marked him as Voldemort's equal. So yeah, there's really no question there. The others, it's like, it's so hard for me mostly to imagine. I completely understand the argument for Ron and the Imperious curse. The one that's hard for me to imagine is Hermione and the Cruciatus curse.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's not that they would ever use them per se. It's that they were like Hermione is sort of tortured by Bellatrix, not with the Cruciatus curse. Is it with the Cruciatus curse? I think it is when she's in Malfoy Manor.
Yeah, there's sort of like
she carves her or like mud blood into her arm or something.
Right. That's the thing. I've never known whether or not it was like the Cruciatus curse or like the like actual physical damage that she's inflicting upon her in that situation, which would be irony to be torturing her by means of non-magic.
Right.
When the whole reason she's torturing her is because of her non-magic heritage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's that. I would say for Ron, like I suppose Fleur's potential influence over him, because we talked about how Vila maybe have like a touch of imperiousness about them.
Right.
But the greater example to me is when they're maybe it could be more of like a Weasley trait, but the greater example is when they have the locket, and Ron is so much more subject to its effects than the other two.
Yeah, there is definitely that. Yeah, I think that would certainly fit. I mean, I understand the Vila argument as well. I mean, it's definitely like something that kind of like captivates him. So it's like, is it possible that they're all like victims of these kinds of like these branches of magic, maybe?
Yeah.
Like control is something that Ron struggle with. Pain is something that Hermione struggles with, which I would say is mostly due to her like role as like a perceived outcast by the prejudice of the pure blood mania.
Right.
Which, it's like, I mean, not that being subjected to that kind of prejudice isn't a very painful thing, but it feels very different from the physical brand of torture. But I can see where the parallels would exist. Yeah, I could see it. Because, I mean, you've got the 3 Hallows that they all represent. You've got the 3 other houses other than Gryffindor, which they all share, that they each represent. And 3 unforgivable curses.
Yeah. Okay, I think that fits nicely.
Yeah, that's a good one. If anybody has any other thoughts on that, be sure to let us know, because I absolutely feel like the questioner is on to something good there. So
for sure.
Yep, great one. Yep. But otherwise, I think that brings us to the end.
I think it does. That is going to wrap up today's episode. Make sure you join us next week for Chapter 32, Flesh, Blood, and Bone, here on Through the Gryffindor.
Today's episode was edited by Ethan Edghill. Vaishon Brandon does our art. Catherine Stein is our production manager, and the show is hosted by me and Jonathan Carlin.